gentlemen, we direct your attention to the commissioner's box adjacent to the Mets dugout. We are honored this evening to have with us baseball's perennial goodwill ambassador who will throw out the first ball, the old professor, Casey Stengel.
Casey Stengel, 83 years old, who tagged the nickname Amazing on the New York Mets. When they were spawned in 1962, they were amazing in those days. They didn't win many ball games. And now here they are battling for the World Championship. They'll be in the white home uniforms tonight. The Oakland A's in their traveling gold. Here are the umpires. Jerry Newdecker's behind the plate. Paul Pryor of the American Leagues at first. Russ Getz of the National Leagues at second. We may have this mixed up here. Lindsay, do you have the correct order?
Yeah, they just have the league's designations mixed up. Newdecker's from the American League.
That's right. Getz, Wendelstedt of the National Leagues at third. Marty Springstead of the American Leagues down the left field line. And Augie Donatelli of the National League is in the right field line. Yogi Berra, Dick Williams, laughing it up tonight despite all the controversy they've had. Dick Williams called a meeting of his players. He cleared the air of the Mike Andrews situation and said, listen now, let's go out. There was never any idea of the A's players to boycott or walk out of the World Series. We talked to their captain, Sal Bando, to Reggie Jackson. Jackson had made the statement that many of the players were mad enough to walk out, but there was never any serious thought in their minds of boycotting a World Series. We're waiting for Tom Seaver to make his way in. He had been warming up out in the Met bullpen in the right field area. But Dick Williams called a meeting and cleared the air, explained the entire situation to his team, and then said, look, go out and play. You have a lot of money riding on the line, and forget this. Sal Bando said, we're used to this kind of thing. In fact, it seems to relax us. The starting pitcher is coming in from the A's bullpen. That's Jim Hunter. Tom Seaver evidently is still in the Mets dugout, Lindsay.
I think he's coming in the runway. There is a runway from the bullpen that you can come into the dugout in a covered passageway. I think that's what he's doing.
Jim Catfish Hunter has completed his warm-up. There's Rusty Staub, number 4. His shoulder getting better day by day. And he's in the starting lineup for sure now the rest of the way for the New York Mets. And we're still waiting for Tom Seaver to make his appearance. He's usually at his best, isn't he, Lindsay, on a cool afternoon or a cool night. He likes the cold weather.
He likes it, and it doesn't take very long to tell whether or not he is super sharp or not. You find out right away with Seaver.
Yogi Berra, who received a big roar as he was introduced to the crowd last July. They were trying to fire him here. In fact, they had a public opinion poll in the papers to see who should go, Berra, the general manager, or the owner's representative. And now here they are. They're even up in the World Series, and they're in Game 3. Commissioner Kuhn, Mrs. Kuhn, that's Chubb Feeney, the president of the National League. Commissioner switching boxes here in the home city of the National League, sitting with the president of the National League in Oakland. He was with Joe Cronin, the president of the American League. I wonder if that runway might be blocked.
I'm wondering. This is the case of the missing starting pitcher.
They might forfeit. When the Mets take the field, they'll have Cleon Jones in left field. Here they are, Don Hahn in center, Rusty Staub in right field. There's Tom Seaver. Wayne Garrett's at third. Bud Harrelson will be the shortstop. Felix Millan at second, and John Milner at first.
Seaver right out there in front of the mound now, Curt and Lindsay, checking the playing surface. There was a slight sprinkle just before game time. He wants to see how his footing's going to be going after a slow hit ball or a bunt.
He's a very thorough young man. He doesn't leave very much to chance. He wants to know exactly how everything is.
Very well organized, isn't he? He knows what he wants to do before he goes out on the mound. He has a purpose for every pitch.
Seaver, a 19-game winner, losing 10 during the regular year. Season before, he won 21. And he won the clincher here in the 5th game against the Cincinnati Reds to put the Mets in the World Series. Lost a heartbreaker in the opening game of the playoffs, where he struck out 13 batters at Cincinnati. Let's take a look at him in slow motion while his pitching coach, Rube Walker, gives you a capsule summary.
Tom Seaver's primarily a power pitcher. He has a real good fastball, curve, change, and slider, and he has real good command of all of them.
I can't hear him. And you'll have the pitching coach, Wes Stock of the A's, analyze Catfish Hunter for you. Bert Campaneris is leading off. Bert's had 2 hits, 10 times up in the series. Excellent playoff. He had a hit in every game of the playoffs for 5 games against the Orioles. And batted .250 on the year. They're in tight at the corners on him at first and third in the event of a bunt. And Seaver's first pitch is just outside a ball. Seaver led the National League in strikeouts. He's led the National League in strikeouts 3 times in the last 4 years. A strict power pitcher with control and know-how. A pop-up the back of the plate. Jerry Grody, the catcher, flips his mask away and puts it away. 1 down. Bert Campaneris fouling out to catcher Grody. Joe Rudy will be the batter. Before he steps in, this telecast presented by authority of Major League Baseball, intended solely for the private, non-commercial use of our audience. Any publication, reproduction, retransmission, or other use of the pictures, descriptions, and accounts of this game without the express written consent of the Commissioner of Baseball is prohibited. 1 out, nobody on. The A's batting in the first inning. Rudy played a shade toward right. Bando will be on deck. And Seaver curves him for a ball. There's the defensive setup. The Mets will probably shade some of these right-handed batters toward right more than they will with the left-handed pitchers on the mound, figuring they won't be able to get around on Seaver as well. Rudy's had 3 hits and 8 times in the series. And there's a long blast. That's down the left field line. It's a fair ball in the corner, and Rudy's on his way and is in with a stand-up double. Joe Rudy gets his 4th hit. He and Reggie Jackson now are tied for most hits on the A's.
Batting in the 3rd position, the 3rd baseman, number 6, Sal Bando.
Sal Bando. He must have had 100 reporters around him alongside the batting case tonight, Lindsay, trying to get his reactions to the Mike Andrews story. He's the captain of the A's. Strike. Bando kept saying, "Let me hit with you, boys. That's all I want to do. I want to get a few licks. I've never played in this ballpark." On deck is Reggie Jackson with that air-resistant propeller to make the bat feel heavier. Pitch of the ball, 1-1. Rudy at second, 1 out. First inning, we're just underway. They're playing Bando the same as they did Rudy. A couple of steps toward right field. Fouls it off in the dirt. 1 ball, 2 strikes. The breeze is a crosswind from 3rd to 1st right now. 8 to 10 miles an hour. Ball's hit in the air to right field, might be given a boost as it suddenly dies down. One ball, 2 strikes to count to Sal Bando. Hit 288 for the year, 98 RBIs, 29 homers, his best year. He hits it foul down the 3rd base line.
That isn't the spot that Tom Seaver wants to get his curveball. That was a little inside, hanging curveball. Bando a little bit ahead of it. Seaver changed speeds on his curveball quite a bit, doesn't he, Lindsay?
He absolutely does.
1 ball, 2 strikes to Salbando. Fastball just missed. The hometown Met fans trying to do some umpiring. 2-2 count. Terrific Tom is his label. The 2-2 pitch. Foul away. Many claim he's the best pitcher in baseball. You can always get into arguments. If he's not, I don't know of anyone much better. His father, Charlie, a member of the United States Walker Golf Cup team. He was a great athlete out on the West Coast. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Lives in Fresno. The Seaver family. There's a strikeout on the inside delivery. 2 away. Reggie Jackson.
Look at Seaver once again in slow motion. It was a hard slider. He got it inside, but he threw it with such velocity, the ball was by Salbando.
Reggie Jackson finally got going. He had 4 hits in a row in Game 2 out at Oakland after going hitless the first 2 times up in that game. He failed to hit in Game 1, and he had a miserable playoff against the Orioles, getting only 3 hits and 21 times up. 2 outs for the A's. Joe Rudy at second. No score, top of the first inning. Fastball by Jackson. Strike 1 to him.
That's the pitch as we look at Gene Tennis on deck. That's the pitch upstairs that the A's better lay off with Tom Seaver. Bet that fastball starts at your chest. It's almost in your eyes when it starts rising.
Jackson has a shot to tie or break a World Series record of 6 consecutive hits in a World Series. He has 4 in a row. Well, I want to tell you, Seaver was just lightning with that one. No balls, 2 strikes. This is the famous commercial artist who manufactures his own signs, and he seems to have one fit for every occasion and every pitch of a ball game. 2 down. Joe Rudy at second. Jackson in the hole, 2 strikes. Seaver's blowing 2 high fastballs by him. Now Jackson asks for time. They're playing Jackson to pull to right field. Two strike pitch. Strike 3 and Lehigh delivery. Seaver struck out 2. No runs, a hit. 1 man left at the end of the first half inning. 0-0. Jim Hunter is a starting pitcher tonight for the Oakland A's. He pitched a shutout last Thursday to nail down the American League Championship for Baltimore. Jim Hunter, a 21-game winner. And here's what his pitching coach, Wes Stock, has to say about Hunter.
That pitcher is a kind of pitcher is a control pitcher. Relies on his slider and his fastball, and also he'll make a change on his curveball once in a while, or a straight changeup. He's a pitcher that really has a lot of determination and knows what he wants to do when he goes out there.
Wes Stock commenting on Jim Hunter. Wayne Garrett leads it off for the Mets in the last of the first. He's had 1 hit at 11 times. That was a home run. First pitch was outside for a ball. Jim Hunter has won 21 games in a row, 3 successive years. Bourne still lives in Hertford, North Carolina. There's a long blast. That was way out, and it is a home run for Wayne Garrett. Looked like he hung a breaking pitch.
Here's that swing in slow motion, jumping on what looked like a Cactus Hunter fastball. Appeared to be about belt high, a little bit inside at the plate. Good swing. Look at that head down to the ball and that full extension of the arm to get all his power behind it.
Wayne Garrett has 2 hits in the series. They've both been homers. So he didn't waste any time putting the Mets out in front 1-0. Felix Meon's had 1 hit in 10 times. Voted the outstanding player of the Mets this year. Tom Seaver won that award last year. Bluffs the bunt, and Hunter's inside for ball 2. Jim Hunter led the American League in home runs allowed this year. He gave up 39. He's ball 3, a little bit low, 3-0. A strike. 3 balls, 1 strike. Felix Millan. Nobody on, nobody out. The Mets ahead 1-0. There's a base hit in the left field. Millan makes his turn. Joe Rudy pegs it in. And the first 2 Mets up have hit safely. Dick Williams. Dick Green. Looked over out to Dick Green. A little sleight of hand to him. Some way to play Staub. Staub's had 1 hit in 5 times. The Met fans shouting at go Mets. The pitch is fouled back for a strike. And already John Odom is starting to work in the Oakland bullpen. John Blue Moon Odom, who pitched 2 innings of relief Sunday in Oakland. Rusty Staub still is not swinging normally, I would say, Lindsay, as I watched him in batting practice.
Not swinging normally, but there was no way he was going to miss the World Series.
Into the dirt. 1 ball, 1 strike. Hunter's the kind of a pitcher that can get off to a staggering start. You let him off the ropes, he can come back. He's a bulldog. That's one of his great assets, his competitive spirit. 1 ball, 1 strike to Rusty Staub. Millan on first, nobody out. And the Mets are on top 1-0 on Wayne Garrett's leadoff homer here in the last of the first inning. Runner going. You're playing hit and run. And it's through the hole. Perfectly executed. Over to third comes Millan. There's a classic example of the hit and run, slapping the ball back to a vacated spot by an infielder who goes over to cover second base.
Watch Felix Millan once again getting a good jump on the hit and run. Dick Green had given the signal that Campaneris was going to do the covering. And on the hit and run, Staub getting a good pitch, an off-speed pitch, one that he can weigh down and handle. I would have thought that with Staub having difficulty with that shoulder and his hands all season long, they would have tried a little more hard stuff to him, especially inside where he seems to have trouble getting around. Let's watch Rusty again on this perfectly executed hit and run. Millan's off and running. Look at him wait on the pitch. A breaking ball down, low and away.
That's a beautiful play, Lindsay, when it's executed. Slapped right back to the hole, and John Odom throwing harder now in the Oakland bullpen. His teammate Jim Hunter in serious trouble here. Runners on first and third, nobody out. The first pitch is a strike to Cleon Jones. Jones leads the World Series in base hits with 5 out of 9. There are the 2 runners, Millan at third, Staub at first. The Mets ahead 1-0. They're home before their roaring fans. Into the dirt, and it bounces away. It's into the dugout, and the score is Millan. And the Mets have a 2-0 lead. That'll be a wild pitch charged against Jim Hunter.
Ball carried off the chest of Fosse into the dugout. It's a ground rule 1 base going into that dugout.
Rusty Staub's at second, nobody out. 2 runs already in for the Mets. 1 ball, 1 strike to Cleon Jones. This is not the Jim Hunter we saw last Thursday in Oakland against Baltimore. Now Jones probably will try and go to right and get this man over to third. Now he dumps it. Foul ball. He can hit the right field and hit the right field with power, right, Lindsay?
He can hit with power all the way around, and I noticed they shade him defensively, playing him to go to the opposite field. He can go that way, has good power all around.
1 ball, 2 strikes to Cleon Jones. Jones nicked with injuries, disappointing first half of the season. Big month of September, good playoffs, and even better in the World Series. 2 balls, 2 strikes to Cleon Jones. Jones is the best athlete on the Mets. Running, throwing, power, all-around athletic ability. Hunter's curve is high and inside to him. Ball 3, 3-2. Cleon Jones graduated from Mobile County Training High, Mobile, Alabama. See, that city of Mobile has turned out many great players, including Henry Aaron, Willie McCovey, Billy Williams. The 3-2 pitch pops a foul back toward the seats. And Cleon was considered the best all-around athlete in the school's history. He and Tommy Agee were childhood and school buddies, later teammates with the Mets.
In high school, they called him Beep, because when he carried a football, they said that's all you heard. Beep, and he's gone.
3-2 to Cleon Jones. Nobody out. Rusty Staub at second. 2 runs in for the Mets. Struck him out on a sinking pitch. 1 down. John Milner up. Milner's had 4 hits in 10 times. He had only 3 hits in the playoffs in 17 times. Milner led the Mets in home runs with 23 this season. Little topper to the box. Hunter bobbles the ball. He tried to backhand it. Normally an excellent fielding pitcher. And right now everything's going wrong for Jim Hunter and the A's.
Let's look at it again from our center field camera. The second time it's happened in this series where a pitcher has gotten the ball stuck in his glove. It happened to Fingers in the first game. Follow through, right foot over left. Has to come back on the ball now. And I think he may have made a cardinal mistake trying to look at that runner before he had possession of the ball, making sure that Staub was not going into third base, and with those big pitcher's gloves, the ball can get away easily that way.
The A's are hurting themselves with bad fielding plays. They had 5 errors Sunday. An error here today. That's their 6th error of the series. Runners on first and second for the Mets. 1 out, 2 runs in. And the pitch is outside to Jerry Grody, who's had 2 hits in 10 times. The Mets are leading 2-0. If you just joined us, last of the first inning. NBC proud and happy to send you another World Series. The 1-0 pitch. Curve for a strike, 1-1. Jim Hunter injured himself in a hunting accident senior year in high school. Had already signed a bonus contract. The A's kept the bonus and had his foot repaired at the Mayo Clinic. And he's come on to become one of baseball's great pitchers. 2 balls and a strike to Jerry Grody. Rusty Staub's at second. John Milner's at first. 1 out. Playing Grody to the opposite field. There's a curve right at the knees for strike 2, 2-2. Jim Hunter never, there's Staub at second. Milner at first. Hunter never pitched in the minor leagues. Tom Seaver only 1 year. They both had it young. They were ready. The real stars usually are when they're young. The 2-2 delivery. Boy, he blew that one by him. A high inside fastball. Strikeout number 2 for Hunter. And Don Hahn is up now. Don Hahn has had 1 hit in 9 times. His seasonal figures you're taking a look at. The outfield shallow for him and to right. 2 down, runners on first and second. On hits a drive into left center. Joe Rudy's positioned and has it to retire the side. And Hunter bulldogged his way out of that jam. 2 runs, 2 left. There was 1 error. The end of the first inning, 2-0. Gene Tennis leading off for the A's in the second inning. A strike to him. Seaver looks right now that he might be in for one of those overpowering games of his. He struck out 2 in the first. He's very quick. Fouled away at strike 2. He pitched last Wednesday. He's had 5 days rest. Well, actually 5.5. And he has Gene Tennis 2 strikes, only 1 hit and 6 times up. Curved him and strikes him out. 3 strikeouts in a row for Tom Seaver. Vic Davalillo, the A's center fielder, will be the next batter. No hits in 1 time. On April 22nd of 1970, Tom Seaver struck out 19 batters at San Diego. That's tied Steve Carlton's Major League record for a 9-inning game. Then he set a new Major League record in that game by striking out 10 in a row, the last 10 men he faced. That's what you call ending it with a flourish. 1 out, nobody on. Vic Davalillo looks at a curve outside for a ball. On deck, the catcher Ray Fosse. The Mets are ahead 2-0. Davalillo slaps the ball around. Now and then he'll catch a hold of one and drill it deep. High and away, ball 2. We're going to pause briefly for station identification. This is the NBC Television Network.
WNBC TV, New York.
Curt Gowdy, Lindsay Nelson, and Tony Kubek back with you in Shea Stadium. Seaver pours the fastball over. 2 balls and a strike to Vic Davalillo. In tight at third is Garrett. Just a bit high. 3-1 to Davalillo.
Touch Davalillo, an unusual batting stance. Watch that right leg. Earlier this season he did that, and he fell backwards on his back. Got off balance.
Seaver is a power pitcher with control. He walked only 2 men every 9 innings this year. Davalillo slams it foul deep down the right field line. Our count 3-2 to Vic Davalillo. 1 out, nobody on. Well, Lindsay, you've seen Seaver year after year since he came in with the Mets. How fast is he tonight compared with some of the great games you've seen?
This is one of his better nights, and many times he warms to the task as he goes along.
Foul away by Davalillo, and the count stays 3-2. He's averaged 6 strikeouts a game in his career. The 3-2 delivery. Victory in the outside corner. 4 strikeouts in a row for Tom Seaver. The most consecutive strikeouts in a World Series game, 6. Set by Horace Eller of Cincinnati back in 1919. And Mo Grabowski coming out of the bullpen of Baltimore against the Dodgers in 1966 at Los Angeles. 6 strikeouts in a row. Seaver now has struck out 4 in succession. Ray Fosse, curve over for a strike, 0-1.
And that's the pitch that makes that fastball so much greater. You can get those hitters looking for that breaking ball like Seaver just threw, and they're really in trouble.
Tom Seaver, 28 years old. There's a foul ball, and he has Fosse in the hole now, 2 strikes. Seaver lives in Greenwich, Connecticut.
He first came up, Curt, he said he wasn't a strikeout pitcher, and he'd tell me every spring, I'm not a strikeout pitcher. And then after he had led the league 2 years and set a new record for strikeouts by a right-hand pitcher, I said to him, "Are you finally a strikeout pitcher?" He said, "Yeah, I'm a strikeout pitcher."
Hey, I'm a strikeout pitcher, huh? Outside for a ball, 1-2. Another duel. If both these men stay in, will be with the bats. Both Seaver and Hunter are 2 of the best hitting pitchers in baseball. Breaking delivery way outside. 2-2 to Ray Fosse. 2 down. Nobody on. The A's batting in the second. The Mets have jumped out to a 2-0 lead. Two pitch. Out. He's out. They had to check with the first base umpire just to be sure that he committed himself. Seaver struck out 5 in a row at the end of an inning and a half. 2-0 in favor of the New York Mets. We'll be right back tomorrow night at the same time as our coverage on NBC will start for Game 4 of the World Series at 8 o'clock Eastern Daylight Time. And the World Series game will be preceded by the baseball world of Joe Garagiola. Hope you're tuned again to NBC tomorrow night. There's Carmen Berra, Mrs. Yogi Berra. She's been at a lot of World Series games. Her husband played in 75 or competed in 75 World Series games in a Yankee uniform. And now he's managing in a World Series. Strike. The World Series can never be a ho-hum affair to anyone. But if any family is used to it, the Berra family could be. And there he is, the matinee idol of America, Yogi Berra. Ball 1, strike 1. Well, he's put that meat and potatoes on the table for him. 1 ball, 1 strike to Bud Harrelson. He hits a pop-up out into shallow center. Coming on, Davalillo makes the grab. 1 down. Jackson's over in right tonight. Davalillo in center. And Joe Rudy in left. Tom Seaver getting a hand. Remember now, when he comes out in the top of the third, he has a chance to tie an all-time World Series record. He'll be facing Dick Green. If he strikes out Green, it would be 6 strikeouts in succession for Seaver, which would tie the all-time record. Ball 1. You know, interestingly, Lindsay, on that pop-up by Harrelson, 3 hats flew off on Oakland defensive players, the center fielder, the second baseman, and the shortstop. They all lost their caps. The Mets are ahead 2-0. Jim Hunter's over with a strike, 1-1.
That might be a World Series record, too. 3 caps on 1 play.
Good. High on the inside, and Hunter loses his cap. Tom Seaver has a lifetime National League average of 158. You remember Game 1 of the National League playoffs? He came up with a double. He knocked in the Mets' only run. Fastball is over. 2-2. And Hunter now seems to be getting his bearings after a rough start. He gave up a leadoff homer to Garrett. 2 hits, a wild pitch. The Mets lead 2-0. Foul ball back. 2-2.
That first inning, Hunter was behind 4 of the 7 hitters he faced, Garrett and Mian, and he is not usually pitched that way. He usually wants that first pitch, make it his best pitch in the strike zone.
1 out, the base is empty for the Mets in the last of the second. That one is over by the Mets dugout. And reaching in is Gene Tennis, and he has it. Gene Tennis into the box seats, gets a hand on a sparkling play on Seaver's foul ball.
Off Tennis again, a lot less room here in Shea Stadium between the foul line and the stands. Over in the cameraman's position, he makes a whale of a play on this one and takes the camera down with him. Here's another angle as Tennis goes into the cameraman's box, toppling over. Fine play by Gene Tennis.
He's a valuable man to those A's. He never played first much. Of course, he was their catcher last year. He can play both positions. Lindsay tells me the main thing he had to learn was getting his feet untangled at first base.
I expect so.
Wayne Garrett led off for the Mets in the first inning with a home run to right. There's a foul ball down the right field line. 1 ball, 1 strike. Jim Hunter now has retired 4 in a row. Actually, he should have 6 men in a row retired. He made an error himself on an easy bounding ball by John Milner back to the box in the first. Ball 2, strike 1 to Wayne Garrett. The Mets, 2 runs, 3 hits. The A's, no runs, 1 hit. Last half the second. The curve misses. 3 balls and a strike to Garrett. And they're playing Garrett as a dead pull hitter to right field. Jackson's in the right field corner, and Davalillo's well over in right center. Hunter's 3-1 pitch. He wanted it. 3-2 to Garrett. Danny Murtaugh, back as manager of the Pittsburgh Pirates. Won the World Championship with the Pirates 2 years ago. The inspirational play of the man, Roberto Clemente, the late Roberto Clemente. Ball 4. First walk given up by Hunter. Wayne Garrett's at first. 2 down. Felix Millan up. He spanked a single to left his first time. You know, Jim Hunter won 21 games this year, despite being on the disabled list for about a month. He suffered a fractured thumb in the All-Star game at Kansas City. He was injured on July 24th, didn't pitch again until August 19th. He might have been a 25, 26 game winner this season. 2 outs. Garrett at first for the Mets. They're leading 2-0. Millan way up in that bat handle. Tries to go to right and fouls it back. Millan, very difficult man to strike out. No balls, 1 strike. Again, trying to slap it to the opposite field. 0-2 to Felix Millan with Garrett at first, 2 away.
Millan appeared to be a little bit farther away from the plate than he was in the first 2 ball games. I don't know if he did it purposely this time to try and go to the opposite field, get a little more room inside. Many times his hands and elbows are right in the center of the strike zone.
Foul ball. When Wayne Garrett hit that home run in the first inning, Jim Hunter was not going to repeat his performance of May 8, 1968, when he pitched a perfect game at Oakland against the Minnesota Twins. There have been no perfect games in the major league since then. Not a base runner that night for Minnesota. Here we are with our handheld camera shot looking over the first base. There goes the runner, and Millan trying to hit behind him, fouls it back.
We got a pretty good look on that shot at the move to home plate by Hunter, as Garrett made the break.
2 down, Garrett at first. Mets ahead 2-0, last of the second. Gene Tennis holding. The fastball makes the count 1-2.
I like that shot from behind that first base, but you don't see that too often. See exactly what the base runner sees. Read those moves, the heel movement, the knee kick, shoulder.
There's a drive right to the shortstop, Campaneris, to retire the side. No runs, no hits, no errors, 1 left. At the end of 2-0 Mets. Don Seaver's going to... Oh, he won't get it now. There's a bounding ball by Green to third to throw over, and there's 1 down. Seaver had struck out 5 in a row. If he had struck out Green, he would have tied an all-time World Series record of 6 consecutive strikeouts. But he gets the first man out in the 3rd inning. Green bouncing out. Dick Green previously had gone 0 for 4. And now Jim Hunter's up. And despite the fact he hasn't hit all year, well, he's hit once. He's a 1,000 hitter this year. He had 1 for 1. Jim Hunter has a lifetime batting average of .227. Anytime a pitcher has a lifetime average better than 200, he's what one of the ball players call a good hitting pitcher. He's hit 6 homers in his career, too. Strike to him. Hunter last year was paid a $5,000 bonus because of his hitting. The rest of the money for his pitching. The 1-strike delivery. Strike 2, 0-2. Red Ruffing used to get a double payment with the New York Yankees. 1 check for pitching and 1 for pinch hitting. The 0-2 delivery. Outside, ball 1. 1-2 to Jim Hunter. Mets are leading 2-0. We're in the top of the third. There's a fly ball to center field. Don Hahn drifting in under, 2 down. Now we go to the top of the order and Bert Campaneris, who fouled out his first time.
Bert Campaneris, number 19.
Campaneris has not walked so far in this World Series. He's been hit by a pitch ball. And they shorten up at first and third again. Excellent bunter, outstanding speed. A curve is a strike. That's Seaver's best curveball. That was one of those roll-off-the-table jobs. Seaver's put down 7 in a row. One ball, one strike. He's very much in command right now. The man you see on deck that's swinging that bat was Joe Rudy. 1-1 pitch to Campaneris. Back to 1 ball, 2 strikes. Joe Rudy will be up next if Campaneris gets aboard. 1-2 pitch is laced in the right field by Bert Campaneris. Up with the ball is Rusty Staub. That's the second hit for the A's. Campaneris has stolen 2 bases so far in the series.
Left fielder Joe Rudy, number 26.
And Joe Rudy up. Rudy doubled into the left field corner in the first inning. The Mets have 3 hits. The A's have 2 hits. The Mets are ahead 2-0. Straight away for Joe Rudy. Ball 1. How about Seaver's move to first, Lindsay?
Doesn't have an exceptional move, but he has a pretty compact delivery and doesn't waste a great deal of time.
Campaneris, who stole 34 out of 44 during the season. Rudy hits a bounding ball to Harrelson, makes the play to second, to Neon for the fourth, and the A's are retired in the third. No runs, a hit, 1 man left, 2.5 innings gone. It's 2-0 New York.
Name?
Jerry West.
Occupation?
Playing ball.
Shave?
Double edge. Once I learn something, I stay with it.
Blade?
Gillette. What else?
Nearly half the guys in this country are double-edge men. Gillette's kind of men. From super stainless to longer-lasting Platinum Plus, Jerry West is just one of them. Gillette, we made the first blade, and we're still the first blade.
Staub getting a hand. 3 homers in the playoffs. The hero with a bat helped the Mets into the World Series and injured his shoulder, and he's been struggling. A strike to him. Staub single to left in the first inning. Jim Hunter started twice, relieved once in last year's World Series. There's a high fly. That's down the left field line. Rudy racing for it. Nearly stumbled as he went over, and he caught it, and he looks at a divot. He nearly fell down. 1 away. Staub flying to left, and Staub, with that lame shoulder, is hitting the ball to left field.
Look at it again. Rudy going after this one in the left field corner. That field was torn up after the championship series game, and the grounds crew has done a great job getting it back in shape, but I'm sure it's pretty bumpy and soft.
I think torn up's an understatement. 1 out, nobody on. Cleon Jones struck out his first time. Last of the third inning. New York Mets lead the Oakland A's 2-0. Bounding ball to Bando at third. He'll have to hurry, and he gets it there, and they're 2 down. And if Hunter continues to go along, they may have let him off the ropes. John Milner reached on an error when Hunter bobbled a one-hopper back to the box in the first inning. That 4 for 11 that you see, those are the World Series batting figures. Ball one. We've given you seasonal statistics on these players as hitters and also World Series figures. Their second time up. A strike, 1-1 to Milner. 2 down, nobody on. The on-deck batter is Jerry Grody, the Met catcher. They play Milner to pull to right. Inside to him. Ball 2, strike 1. Mets, 2 runs, 3 hits. A's, no runs, 2 hits. 2-1 pitch. Outside, 3-1. Hunter so far has struck out 2, walked 1. Given up 3 hits to the first 3 batters he faced. Second walk issued by Jim Hunter. That put Miller at first, 2 down. And Jerry Grody, the Met catcher, coming up. Grody struck out at first.
Grody, number 15.
You never know. Sometimes a player will warm up or a pitcher and say, boy, I've got it tonight. You go out to the mound, he won't have a thing. That was Dick Williams trying to give his pitcher Hunter a little moral support. Hunter may not quite have been loosened up Lindsay when he came out for the first inning.
Entirely possible, because he's certainly settled down since.
Jerry Grody hits it foul just outside third. 0-1 to Grody. John Milner returning to first. Here's Tony's favorite shot now.
Yeah, I like that. You know, you were mentioning Hunter being a 20-game winner again. Even though he was a 20-game winner, many of his other statistics were not as impressive as last year. He walked more this year. He did not strike out as many. His earned run average was more than a run greater than last year.
The Mets don't run much. Next to last in the National League in stealing. They'll put the hit and run on, as we've already seen tonight. Tony, if you were a base runner at first now, if you were John Milner, as if that shot comes up again, looking over the first baseman toward the pitcher, what are you looking for there from that pitcher?
I might look at that left heel to see if it moves upwards first. It means he's going home. You have to move that left heel first. They also can look at the left shoulder. If he opens up to home plate, that left shoulder moving toward home plate, you want to take off.
Milner at first, 2 down, the 1-1 pitch. Inside for a ball. Oakland this year stole 127 bases of the team. The Mets 27. Oakland stole 100 more bases, but 53 of those stolen bases are missing from the World Series in the person of Bill North, the A's center fielder who is severely sprained ankle and couldn't play in the playoffs or World Series. Undoubtedly, the A's miss him in here. He and Campaneris were a potent 1 and 2 setup in that batting order, getting on base and then stealing or going to third on base hits. 1 ball, 2 strikes to Jerry Grody. John Milner jockeying for his lead. Grody fouls it upstairs. 1 and 2.
Curt, another thing you might look for off Hunter when he's pitching from his stretch position from that camera angle we have behind first base is his left knee. When that left knee bends, he's going home. When it is moving straight, he doesn't bend it, he's coming to first base.
1 ball, 2 strikes. He's outside, ball 2. Jim Hunter led the American League in won and lost percent for the 2nd year in a row. Last year he won 21, lost 7. This year he won 21 and lost 5. He became the first American League pitcher to lead the league 2 years in a row in the best percent since Lefty Grove did it back in 29, 30, and 31. Slow hopper to shortstop. Campaneris flips over to the second baseman, Dick Green, for the force on Milner. No runs, no hits, 1 left at the end of 3. 2-0 New York. We move to the 4th inning at Shea Stadium in New York. The A's behind 2-0 will have their number 3, 4, 5 hitters of the lineup. Bando, Jackson, and Tennis against Tom Seaver. who has struck out 5, no walks, given up 2 hits, and no runs. And his first delivery to Bando's a ball. Bando struck out his first time. Pretty Met fan. Ball 2, one of the few times Seaver's been behind on a batter. You get a pitcher like Seaver with his stuff, and he's ahead of the hitters. Look out. 2 balls, no strikes. There's a blast deep in the left field. Jones racing and is there for it. Rayon Jones takes it. 1 out in the 4th.
Curt, this Mets team is a very well-coached team, I think, and they've got good scouting reports. As soon as the count got 2-0, both Buddy Harrelson, the shortstop, Cleon Jones, the left fielder, moved toward the foul line. They knew that Bando was going to try and get on front because he was ahead of that pitcher.
Reggie Jackson took a call third strike his first time. Two runs, 3 hits for the Mets. No runs, 2 hits for the A's. Jackson fouls it back, strike 1. This wind keeps changing around. Right now it's blowing in against the hitters. Goes in spurts. Every time I say wind, the flag dies. Honestly, there is a breeze here tonight. 1 out, nobody on. The 0-1 pitch. A ball, 1-1 to Reggie Jackson. The home run leader of the American League and also the RBI leader. 32 homers he parked this year. 1 ball, 1 strike. Served him. 1 ball, 2 strikes. 1 out for the A's. Bases empty. Strikeout number 6 for Seaver.
Look at this breaking ball again, and I've got to ask Lindsay this question. Lindsay, does Tom Seaver have this kind of breaking ball consistently?
No, not consistently, because it's really sharp tonight. But he has high regard for it. He has a pet dog, and the dog's name is Slider.
2 down, nobody on. 1 ball. Well, that's easier than curveball. 2 down, nobody on for the A's in the 4th. 2-0 Mets. A ball. Seaver will have to go along at a rapid pace to challenge Bob Gibson's all-time World Series strikeout record for a single game. 1968, Gibson struck out 17. The 2-0 pitch. 2-1. Sandy Koufax struck out 15 in 63. Gibson struck out 17 Detroit Tigers in 68. 2 balls, 1 strike. Here's our handheld camera moving around. A ball, 3-1. Gene Tennis batting with 2 outs, the base is empty. And the Mets ahead 2-0. He's on. There's the first walk given up by Tom Seaver. 101 walks for Tennis. You don't usually consider Tennis, when you think of him, as a man that gets on base a lot with walks, but that shows you how he knows the strike zone and how selective he is. Davalillo took a call third strike his first time up. The A's have had only 3 base runners thus far, 2 hits and a walk. A strike. They're playing off the bag down at first against Tennis. They don't figure him to be going anywhere. Now watch Miller. He'll drop off there as soon as Seaver starts into his motion. A 1-strike delivery is a little dribbler. This is going to be a tough play for Gowdy, and he makes the wide throw that pulls Milner off the bag. Safe at second is Tennis. Safe at first is Davalillo.
Gowdy getting out very quickly on this play in front of the plate, something that Johnny Bench did so well. Yogi Berra did it well. He tried to sink the ball and watch Gowdy get out, throwing the mask on the side, so his vision is not impaired. Seaver giving ground, bare hands, and now Milner making a fine play, saving an error. Ball going all the way to that right field corner. Let's look at it again. Watch the play by Milner. Good stop.
They have given Davalillo an infield hit. Each team has 3 hits tonight. The Mets are leading 2-0. The A's threatening. Runners on first and second, 2 down. Ray Fosse up. Took a call, 3rd strike. He's failed to hit so far in the series. He's 0 for 9. And he taps it over the head of the pitcher. Is charged by Harrelson. His throw to first is just in time. Fosse out of the close play at first base.
Look at it quickly, that high chopper, and a fine charge by Buddy Harrelson. Seaver really jammed him with that fastball, got it up and in. Paul Pryor down at first base with a close call. Rudy on his stride, and I think it's a tie. No, I don't know. Paul Pryor with a close call.
At the end of 3.5 innings, it's 2-0 New York.
You know, the back of a pickup just isn't the place for a lot of expensive gear. That's why I got a kick out of it when Dodge introduced the Club Cab. It's got 34 extra cubic feet of storage space behind the seat. Look at all that room. The Club Cab pickup. Only place you can get one's at Dodge.
Extra care and engineering makes a difference in Dodge trucks. Depend on them.
Just, she's blocked out right now. Now the policeman sitting down. Joan Hodges, the widow of the late Gil Hodges. A Brooklyn girl all the way. Her husband Gil managed the Mets to the world title in '69. Pounding ball fair. Down the left field line by Don Hahn. He'll be in with extra bases. And he has a double. A fan reached out and touched it down there. It's the ground rule double.
Bando playing off the bag, as you can see, for Don Hahn. Hahn with that closed stand. They expected apparently him to hit late or to the opposite field. Playing even with the bag in case Hahn might bunt. Cut down a lot of the territory he could cover.
So Hahn has the first hit for the Mets since the first inning. The Mets had a home run. They had 2 singles. And a wild pitch scored the Mets' second run to make it 2-0. And here's Hahn on second, nobody out in the last of the 4th. Bud Harrelson's the batter. They're looking for the bunt, and he dumps it. It's fouled down the third base line. Tom Seaver, the Met pitcher, is due up next. In fact, he's down there in the on-deck circle with his warm-up jacket on.
Look at that Hahn double once again as it ends up down with the left field foul line umpire. underneath the decorations. I see you, rascal.
Bando shortened up at third once more. Tennis at first. Lindblad, a left-hander, Odom, a right-hander, are heating up in the A's bullpen. There's a difficult pitch to bunt, that one. Almost throwing right at him. Odom's a right-hander, Lindblad's a left-hander. Odom was warming up in the first inning when Hunter was in trouble.
Watch for some trick plays by these Oakland A's. Sal Bando, the man that keys them with various signals.
Harrelson flied out his first time. Again, Hunter jams him. 2 balls and a strike.
Of course, these A's in that second ball game had a trick play go awry when Tug McGraw made a perfect bunt as Bando charged. He slapped it over his head.
This will be our handheld creepy camera taking the pitch on this, so we want to focus on Sal Bando, the third baseman. That's a foul ball, and the count is 2-2 to Bud Harrelson. Now Bando backs up just a bit. Don Hahn's at second. Nobody out. The Mets batting in the last of the fourth. Jim Hunter will be pitching a 2-2 delivery to Bud Harrelson. Fouls it upstairs. Harrelson has fielded brilliantly in this series. Not only made good plays, but he's just been steady, and he's had 3 hits.
He's still trying to get out in front and pull the ball, get that runner into third base with less than 2 outs.
He did pull it. He hits it out to Jackson and right. Tagging at second is Hahn. Hahn's not coming, though. Jackson with a good arm. Oh, right on the line to the third baseman, Bando. What a throw that was by Reggie Jackson. A frozen rope from right field. To see Bando hold it over the bag just like it was a catcher trying to get a strike from the umpire. 1 out.
Look at the strong throwing arm again of Reggie Jackson. Boy, does he love to show it off. He does right here. Look at that. Oohs and ahs from the hometown crowd even.
1 out, Hahn at second. Tom Seaver up. The Met pitcher fouled out his first time. And he goes around in the curve for strike 1. The Mets leading 2-0. They've had 4 hits. The A's 3 hits. The A's have committed an error. 2 of the best right-handers in baseball matched up tonight. Oddly enough, pitching in Game 3 of the series instead of starting at the ace of each staff. A strike. The playoffs change now the old complexion of leading with your aces. 4 or 5-game playoffs in each league. Most of the times, the aces of each staff are back pitching in Game 4, Game 5, trying to get into the World Series. The 2-strike delivery. Low inside, a ball. 1-2 to Tom Seaver. That man, number 25, with his back to you, was Don Hahn. This is Wayne Garrett on deck. A 1-2 pitch. Foul ball. Don Hahn at second. Strike 3 and a curve. 3rd strikeout for Jim Hunter. Now the top of the order, and Wayne Garrett, who led it off for the Mets in the first inning with a home run. Then he walked.
Here we've got West Stock coming out now. Bando went to the mound also with 2 down, first base open. The left-handed hitter Garrett up. A right-hander followed. The following Mian. The strategy here might be to put him on, at least pitch carefully to him with the base open.
Wayne Garrett lives in Sarasota, Florida. His older brother Adrian is with the Cubs. The other brother Charlie formerly was an infielder in the Atlanta Braves organization. All 3 Garrett brothers signed originally by the Braves. And they're going to put him on. This will be the 3rd time in a row Garrett's reached base. Hunter will have to pitch to the pesky Mian, who has singled and lined out. He's stung Hunter twice tonight. Ball 4 coming up.
This is a time where Dizzy Dean can get in the stands of Wabash Cannonball, wasn't it?
Yeah. Runners on first and second, 2 down. The Mets are ahead, 2-0. Mian had 155 singles this year. That's a new Mets club record. Tommy Davis held the old record in '67. Only 30 of his hits this year were not singles. There's an attempted pickoff at second with a count on. Green dashes over, but alertly sliding back is Don Hahn. And a famous World Series play between the Braves and the Indians in 1948. Foul ball down the left field line. No balls and a strike.
Where did he get that power from? The ball went in the second deck. He hit that ball over Rudy's head in the first game, almost off the wall in Oakland.
No balls, 1 strike to Meehan. Runners on first and second. 2 down. This is back toward the screen. Lindsay, if my memory serves me right, it was Tommy Holmes that was on second base for the Braves when Boudreau, the shortstop, and they called for that pickoff play at second. And boy, how they argued about that one. Hahn at second, Garrett at first, 2 out. Mets are on top, 2-0. Last of the 4th inning. He hits it to Bando. He boosts the ball. Everybody's safe.
Watch it again. Sell getting a rough hop, playing off the line once again for Meehan, trying to protect that hole. He got the in-between hop, could not keep the ball in front of him. Now the bases are loaded.
Waiting for the scoring. Rusty Staub will be up with a bases loaded. And they have scored a base hit for Felix Meehan. Meehan gets a base hit. Actually, in that pickoff play in that 48th World Series, I think it was Phil Macy now. Bases loaded. 2 down. Rusty Staub has singled to left, fly to left. So Joe Rudy's playing him to hit the left field. Staub hits it to the box. An easy comebacker. Hunter throws him out and wriggles out of the jam. No runs for the Mets in the 4th. At the end of 4, they're leading 2-0.
Are you one of the millions of youngsters dreaming of wearing a big league uniform someday? You never know. Your dream may come true if you have the ability plus the determination and desire. You stand a good chance, and you don't have to stop there. Many players go on to become coaches, managers, club officials, and even league presidents. Baseball is a game that provides all kinds of opportunities on and off the field. Baseball is a great career.
The preceding announcement was made on behalf of Major League Baseball. Curt Gowdy, Lindsay Nelson, Tony Kubek moving into the 5th inning. With the Mets leading the A's 2-0 and Dick Green the batter. Batting in the number 8 spot for Oakland. Seaver curves him outside, ball 1. Green bounced to third his first trip. And he's still looking for his first hit of this series. 0 for 5 now. Foul ball. Levels the count at 1-1. Catfish Hunter will be up next, and then Bert Campaneris. For those that joined us late, the scoring came in the 1st inning. Garrett led off with a homer for the Mets. Meehan single. Staub singled in the 3rd in the hit and run. Foul ball. And then Meehan scored on a wild pitch, and that's been it. The A's have left 4. The Mets have left 7. One ball, 2 strikes to Dick Green. Terrific Tom in. Another strikeout for him. 7 strikeouts for Seaver. That was a curveball. Dick Williams, there's Sal Bando talking it over with Green. We're talking about Seaver, Lindsay. What are we going to do with this fella?
That would be the subject of conversation, all right.
Jim Hunter flied out his first time. Fastball right by him for strike one. Strike two, 0-2 to Jim Hunter. And Mr. Tom Seaver right now wearing him on his watch chain. He's the man in charge. The two-strike delivery. He had Hunter reaching. Foul ball, 0-2. The score, the New York Mets 2, the Oakland A's nothing. John Matlack will pitch tomorrow night for the Mets, and Ken Holtzman will be going for the A's. They were the two opening game pitchers of the World Series. 2 strikes. A ball, 1-2. On deck, Bert Campaneris. Just a piece again. 1 ball, 2 strikes to Jim Hunter. Seaver started twice in the '69 series. He lost the first game 4-1 at Baltimore. Then he came back to pitch a 2-1 10-inning complete game victory in New York in Game 4, '69. Ball 2, strike 2. The Mets lost that opening game to Baltimore, and the Miracle Boys won 4 in a row, making unbelievable catches. The 2-2 pitch, strike 3. 8 strikeouts for Tom Seaver. The all-time World Series strikeout record in one game, 17, held by Bob Gibson of the St. Louis Cardinals. If you joined us late, at one stage, Seaver had a shot at tying a World Series record of 6 strikeouts in a row. He struck out 5 in a row when he faced Green in the third, but Green bounced out. Campaneris bluffs the bunt. Ball 1 to him. Campaneris has 1 hit in 2 times.
Seaver actually throws 2 kinds of fastballs, I think, Lindsay. He throws the one that he holds across the seams at time, the one that takes off, and then he'll hold one with the seams that he will sink. Move in on the right-handed hitters.
Good pitch. 1 ball, 1 strike to Campaneris. Now ball makes the count 1-2. And Seaver staying ahead of those hitters.
He not only has good control, he has good control in the strike zone. He can spot the ball, especially when he's ahead. He can go high and tight. He can go low and away, up, down.
Two down, nobody on. 1 ball, 2 strikes to Campaneris. Foul again. You'll notice as we showed you our handheld shot, how Garrett plays the right-handed batter in tight at third. You have to. 1-2 pitch. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Campaneris does something. Joe Rudy is the next scheduled batter. Two-two delivery. Strike 3, and Seaver's going to challenge Bob Gibson's record tonight, maybe. He struck out the side in the 5th. At the end of 4 1/2, it is New York 2, Oakland nothing. You know, one of the famous jacketed announcers in baseball here is Lindsay Nelson. I don't know how many jackets he has. They're all loud, but look at Kubek tonight. He's outdone you, Lindsay.
We're clashing.
Huh?
I think we are clashing. You're right.
That's terrible. Well, we've gone through 4 1/2 innings. Tom Seaver with 9 strikeouts is the story of this game. And now to continue the play-by-play for NBC will be the New York Met announcer, Lindsay Nelson.
All right, Curt.
Ooh.
Cleon Jones is at the plate now. Here's Hunter's pitch, and it's in for a called strike as the New York Mets are up here now in the bottom of the 5th inning, leading by a score of 2-0. Cleon struck out and grounded out so far. Had a great finish during the regular season. Chased a breaking pitch 0-2. Little dribbler, third base side. Hunter will play it in time. One away. Cleon Jones with the swinging roller to the third base side, and that brings up John Milner. He was on an error by Hunter in the first inning, and he walked in the third. Milner grew up in the greater Atlanta area, and he became a great admirer of Henry Aaron, as who wouldn't be. Picked up many of Henry Aaron's mannerisms. That's high for a ball. And for that reason, the ball players call him the Hammer.
Picks up that home run mannerism, it won't be bad.
Not at all. 1-0 pitch. In for a called strike. It's 1-1 to Milner. One man out, nobody on. Mets got their 2 runs in the bottom of the first inning, and since then, this game has settled down, way down. A 1-1. Way back. Throwing going. It's in play. It's in play. And he is held at first. He's got out there in such a hurry that he is held at first base.
One and one pitch. Let's watch it again. I don't know if Milner ran hard all the way down to first base or he just held up out of respect the arm of Reggie Jackson. The ball was down a little bit away, a pitch that you don't usually pull with this kind of authority. Let's watch it again. We can see the ball carrying off the foul pole, I believe. Jackson has already made one good throw to third base.
Now Jerry Grody's at the plate. Runner goes, hit and run, in the air to left. Rudy's there, that'll bring Milner back. That's going to the hit and run, and Milner retreats to first, 2 away. That'll bring up Don Hahn.
Milner had to have one of the longest singles of the season, Lindsay.
He certainly did, and it got out there in one big hurry, too. Don Hahn had a grounds rules double in the 4th inning. He's 1 for 2. Go over to first. He's back in time, and the A's have the bullpen going again now. Double barrel action. Odom and Lindblad outside. 1-0 now to Don Hahn. There they are. The left-hander's Lindblad. The right-hander's Odom. 2 men out, runner at first. Mets are batting in the bottom of the 5th inning. Shea Stadium in New York. Game number 3 of the World Series. Popped up into left. Rudy is coming on now. He's there. He makes the catch, and the side is out. There was a hit, and there's 1 left. The end of 5. The score is Mets 2, A's nothing. We pause now for station identification.
See Sanford and Son, followed by a special edition of Lots of Luck Friday night.
When he bats. Stance. All right.
The Oakland A's coming up now in the top of the 6th inning, and Joe Rudy will lead it off against Tom Seaver. Rudy doubled in the 1st inning, grounded into force play in the 3rd inning. Seaver has struck out 9, and he has walked 1. There's Seaver's record at home and on the road during this season. Through 5 innings, the Mets 2 runs on 6 hits. The A's, no runs, they have 3 hits. Way back in center, Don Hahn going toward the wall. He's in the track. He's at the wall. He leaps, and Don Hahn has the ball.
They're playing Rudy perfectly, shading him a little bit to right field. Hahn actually thought he was a little closer to the wall than he was when he hit the warning track. He jumped. He still had some room to go back a couple more steps, but it's a fine catch. Let's look at it again from another angle as he punches the warning track. As soon as he hits it, he knows he's getting close. He knows he can take just a couple of more strides. Here he goes.
Perfectly timed jump, Tony.
Sal Bando's at the plate. Seaver misses everything all the way back. It's ball one. And the catch of Don Hahn has the crowd humming here at Shea Stadium. That's high. Don Hahn began this season at the Mets AAA Farm Club at Tidewater, Virginia. He was obtained by the Mets from Montreal a couple of years back in exchange for Ron Swoboda. 2-0 the count now to Bando. Foul back and out of play. It's 2-1.
Lindsay, there have been times tonight when Seaver has thrown small baseballs. That was one of them.
2-1 the count. One man out, nobody on. Fired a little low. 3-1. Waiting on deck now, Reggie Jackson. Way back in center. Well, Hahn's got another trip. Can't get this one. It's in play. And Bando pulls up with a double. So now, Reggie Jackson is coming up. He is the tying run at the plate.
Watch Don again. He has turned the wrong way. He turned over his right shoulder. The wind is blowing out to right field, just a shade, moving it away from him toward right field. He displays a pretty good throwing arm here. Not very accurate, but he threw it a long way from center.
Reggie Jackson has been up twice, struck out both times. That's in for a called strike. Start him off with a breaking pitch, Bando. Got Pedro Garcia for the American League lead in doubles, 32 this season.
Garcia with a shot for Rookie of the Year.
Curveball in there for a called strike, two to Reggie Jackson.
Wonder who she's for. The A's wives.
This will be an 0-2 pitch, time call by Jackson.
As soon as these A's hitters look like they might start timing Seaver's fastball, he's gone with two quick breaking balls to Jackson.
Fastball struck him out. 10 strikeouts for Tom Seaver, the third time tonight he has struck out Reggie Jackson. And that will bring up Gene Tennis.
You've seen those signs before, Lindsay. Curt and I haven't seen them very often. That's a clever man.
That fella has a big supply of them. Keeps them in a case and pulls them out for every occasion. In there for a called strike. Ripped it down the left field line. It is a fair ball. That'll bring in a run as Bando comes across the plate. Dennis pulls up at second. He's tying run in scoring position now. Double and a run batted in. It's the Mets 2 and the A's 1.
Let's watch down that left field foul line. That's Marty Springstead of the American League. They've got the red jackets on. He gets out of the way of that line drive, hooking in the left field corner by Gene Tennis for a double.
So now the tying run is at second. Two men are out, and Vic Davalillo is coming up. He has struck out and had a base hit so far. Dribbled one to the third base side.
And 3 of the 4 batters have really hit the ball hard off Seaver this inning.
Breaking pitch hit one hop to second. Millan has it. Goes to first in time to retire the side. So there was a run on 2 hits, no errors, and 1 left. In the middle of the 5th, it is the Mets 2 and Oakland 1.
Next Sunday, we're going to have a sports doubleheader on NBC. We'll have National Football League action. Either Baltimore at Detroit, Buffalo at Miami, Houston at Cleveland, New York Jets at Pittsburgh, followed by a World Series Game 7. If the World Series is completed, then an NFL football doubleheader. Our second game across America will be Kansas City at Cincinnati. Back to Lindsay Nelson.
All right, Curt, Bud Harrelson's up, and the pitch is low and inside. It's 1-0. The Mets 2, the A's 1. The Mets are batting in the bottom of the 6th inning. Took the pitch in there for a called strike. It's 1-1. A look at Shea Stadium packed and jammed here for game number 3 of the World Series. That shot from the handheld camera that's traveled all around this ballpark tonight. Upstairs and down. There's a base hit. Threw into center field. Picked up by Vic Davalillo and played back. So Harrelson has a leadoff single that brings Seaver up in a sacrifice circumstance.
Watch the follow-through of Jim Catfish Hunter. He follows through that right foot over the left, turns his back to that hitter at times. This particular time he could not recover quickly enough, and the ball goes through.
The A's, of course, expect Seaver to be sacrificing here. He has fouled out and struck out in 2 previous times at bat.
And Lindsay, the A's now have changed to Fingers and Knowles in the bullpen. They're ace relievers.
Bando charged on the pitch. Did he ever? There he is. Bunted off foul for strike 1. Seaver's looking down to Eddie Yost to see if the sacrifice is still on. There's the bullpen.
Fingers the right-hander, Knowles number 32 the left-hander.
Nobody out. Runner at first base. He's around and takes it in for a called strike. It's 0-2. Bud Harrelson, the runner at first. Seaver has looked to see if he's bunting all the way, and you'd rather expect he would be. He's around. Bunts it foul. He's a strikeout victim. That is the 4th strikeout for Hunter, the 3rd strike bunted foul. So with 1 away now, Wayne Garrett comes up. There you see the moon over Shea Stadium, or half a moon over Shea Stadium in any case.
That's not the way I heard the title of that song.
Garrett has been on base 3 consecutive times, had a home run, walked, and an intentional walk. Foul ball, it's out of play.
The A's were supposed to have the edge in power and hitting, but the Mets have out-hit the A's in each game.
Proves in a short series, it's awfully difficult to establish form, really. Strike 1, the count to Garrett. Harrelson bluffed to start on the pitch, 0-2. Jim Catfish Hunter, after a shaky start, has settled down. This is an 0-2 pitch. High, 1-2.
Hunter appears to be throwing a little bit harder now. He's loosened up pretty good.
He struck out 4, walked 3, one of them intentionally. Foul it back. Holds 1 and 2 to Wayne Garrett. He's the leadoff man in the New York Mets batting order. He was drafted by the New York Mets from the Atlanta Braves organization before the 1969 season on the explicit recommendation of Bob Sheffing, who at that time was a scout and is now the general manager. That's high, 2-2. Felix Millan is on deck. Harrelson at first base with 1 man out. The Mets 2, Oakland 1. Here's the 2-2. In there for a call, strike 3. Strikeout number 5 for Catfish Hunter. 2 Mets are out. That will bring up Felix Millon. He's had 2 hits, 2 for 3. Chokes that bat up almost to the trademark. The only other man in the National League I know who chokes a bat as much is Ron Hunt, the Montreal Expos. More than once this year. Tight pitches have come in and hit the little end of the bat. Foul ball.
Yogi may now try to get Buddy Harrelson with 2 outs in scoring position.
Davalillo's got a long way to run, but he gets there and he makes the catch. So the side is retired. There was a hit. There was 1 left, and at the end of 6, the score is the Mets 2 and Oakland 1.
And now a program note. Tom Snyder welcomes Ted Patrick, a psychological deprogrammer who's hired by parents to rescue their children from Jesus movements, on tonight's edition of Tomorrow, following The Tonight Show, starring Johnny Carson, right here on NBC. The 7th inning coming up at Shea Stadium, and the A's are going to make a move.
They're going to make one right here. Pat Burke. Pat Burke is coming up to bat for Ray Fosse. He was obtained from the Chicago Cubs. So Dick Williams wants to go to his bench right now. That's in for a called strike. Low for a ball. It's 1-1. Seaver, of course, has seen Burke before because they faced each other in National League play. Low and away. It's 2-1.
Lindsay, Dick Williams has got people moving in that dugout all over the place with bats and helmets on. Alou's already come on deck. I see Darren Johnson propped on the top step. There's Johnson next to Williams.
Two and 1 the count now to Burke, leading off, and the top of the 7th. Fastball in tight, 3-1.
Lindsay, has this been a familiar pattern, what we're seeing tonight with Tom Seaver late in the season after 290 innings?
It has been, especially on nights when Seaver had the strikeout pitch going. Many occasions he has tended to weaken in the later innings and give up the long ball. Here's a pitch in for a called strike. It's 3-2. Payoff pitch. Foul out of play. Count remains 3-2.
Darrell Knowles is still warming up out in the Oakland bullpen. We're getting down to the bottom of the order.
Ray Sadecki in the Mets bullpen. Right. Left-hander Ray Sadecki. Payoff pitch way back, but Staub retreats and lines it up. In the track, he makes the catch. Now, Jesus Salou will bat for Dick Green. In this series, he is 3 for 9. He was 2 for 6 in the playoffs. 36 games during the regular season with the A's, he batted .306. Jesus Salou.
It looks like we'll see the last of Hunter now because Darrell Johnson has come out on deck. The Mets will be glad to see him out of there. Hunter really settled down after a rough first inning.
The Mets have Harry Parker up throwing now along with Ray Sadecki. Fouled out of play at strike 1. 1 man out, nobody on. The right-hander now is Parker, having joined Sadecki. Darren Johnson. Apparently to bat for Hunter. Curveball hammered on the ground is short. Long throw for Harrelson in time. 2 away. Now Johnson comes up to bat for Hunter. So Jim Hunter goes out, having pitched 6 innings. He gave up 2 runs on 7 hits, struck out 5, walked 3, one of them intentionally.
Watch Buddy Harrelson once again. A breaking ball. He is leaning to his right. He's already taken a half a step before Lou hit the ball. That's called leaning, going with the pitch. Harrelson makes it look easy with that long, smooth throw.
Wonder if he ever makes a bad play.
Fastball outside. Darren Johnson, of course, went from the Philadelphia Phillies in the National League to the A's. Hit .246 for them during the season. That's low. Seaver goes behind 2-0 to Darren Johnson. Johnson is 1 for 1 in the World Series. He is 1 for 10, was 1 for 10 in the playoffs.
Look where Wayne Garrett's playing Johnson, Lindsay, right on that line at third.
Fired in, it's 2-1. Well, they have great respect for his ability to hit the long ball. He's proven that. That's Garrett. Playing a deep third base and close to the line. A swinging strike 2. It's 2-2. 2 men out, nobody on base. The Mets 2 and the A's 1. Seaver's 2-2. In there for a call, strike 3. Strikeout number 11 for Tom Seaver. So the side's out in order, nothing across, and it's the Mets 2 and Oakland 1. Changes have been made now. Ted Kubek comes into play second base. Pat Burke is in at first base. The catcher is Gene Tennis, who moves from first behind the plate. And Darrell Knowles is the pitcher. So those changes have been made by the Oakland A's, as Knowles will be facing the Mets coming up in the bottom of the 7th inning.
It was Knowles who made a big play, and Aaron threw to home plate when he tripped and fell down, fielding a ball directly at him in the second game with the bases loaded. That set up a couple of runs for the Mets.
Knowles was in 52 games during the regular season, had 5 starts, won 6, lost 8, had 9 saves and an ERA of 3.09. Has pitched in both the previous games of this World Series. Shea Stadium banner makers have been busy. Rusty Staub will lead it off. 1 for 3, had a base hit in the first inning. Fouled off at strike 1. Rusty Staub, a native of New Orleans, came to the major leagues with the Houston Astros and then went to Montreal before coming to New York.
You have to give Jim Hunter a lot of credit for refusing to give in after that bad start. He shut the Mets out after the first inning.
In a little tight. It's 1-1. After having been with 2 expansion teams in his career, there was no way Rusty Staub was about to miss the World Series despite a shoulder injury. Foul back, 1-2. He had injuries to both hands during the course of the season and had to change his whole philosophy of hitting. He had to start slapping the ball, going with the pitch, gave up pulling altogether at one stretch.
Till the championship series.
Till the championship series, and he suddenly got it back.
Getting to that part of the ball game, too, in this close game, where Yogi's going to have to start thinking of some defensive measures for Staub with that throwing arm.
Foul it off. Count holds 1-2.
Rusty really hurting. Let's watch his swing once again. Appears to be having trouble with the inside pitches. That was a way of breaking ball.
A little low. It's 2-2. Among his many other talents, Rusty Staub is a gourmet cook. I'd have a little trouble handling the ladle with that shoulder injury, but it's his hobby. Inside. It's full at 3-2. Staub is leading off here in the bottom of the 7th inning. The Mets are leading in the game by a score of 2-1, and the Met crowd's trying to get something started on behalf of the hometown heroes. Darrell Knowles looks as though he wonders where it's all coming from. In the air to left, Rudy came in and now drifts back, makes the catch. So there's one away, and that will bring up Cleon Jones. Jones struck out, grounded out, 0 for 3 so far tonight. Coming up now against the left-hander.
Knowles been used pretty much as a specialist during the season against left-handed hitters. He has difficulties with the right-handers. Comes from the side at times with the sidearm curveball and sinker.
Ground ball is short. Campaneris up with it. Over to Pat Burke. 2 away. John Milner will be the batter. Been on base 3 times, on an error by Hunter in the first inning, and after that walked and singled off the wall and right. Two men out, nobody on. Outside for a ball. It's 1-0.
Lindsay, the Mets are a better ball club offensively against right-handed pitching, aren't they?
They are. They are indeed, because they don't have enough depth really to do much platooning, and those left-hand batters, Garrett, Milner, will be in there in any case. Pitch missed, and it's 2-0. Jerry Grody on deck. He missed 2 months with a broken arm this year. Swing and a miss. 2-1 now to Milner. Darrell Knowles was on the pitching staff of the Senators when Gil Hodges was the manager there, and a number of the Met coaches, present Met coaches, were on that staff. Inside, off the glove, and all the way back. It's 3-1. This will be a 3-1 delivery. It's in there, and the count is full at 3-2. Dick Williams.
That jacket feels comfortable down there.
You bet. Here is the payoff pitch. Walking. So Milner's on base for the 4th consecutive time. And Jerry Grody is coming up. Grody was struck on the arm by a pitch thrown by Ramon Hernandez in the month of May in Pittsburgh, and had a broken arm. I guess it says, looking at the bright side, when he said he felt that his strong finish was because of the fact that in other years he was pretty well out of gas by the time they got to August and September. This year he had 2 months rest. Now you look at Milner.
That handheld man's got a great pair of legs, hasn't he? He's been all over this stadium.
Trying to figure where he was there. That pitch is low. The only place I could figure was he was on top of the scoreboard.
I don't know where he is, but that shot gives me a nosebleed.
He must either have a good heart or an able elevator here.
1-0 the count to Grody. Foul ball backing out of it. That's a shot you don't see too much on ordinary game coverage.
No.
1-1 to Grody. 2 men out.
Knowles certainly takes a lot of time. It seems like he rubs the ball down every time he gets it back.
There he is. Sitting up in the corner there. 1-1 the count. Ground ball is short. Campaneris goes across for the force at second to Kubek, and the side is retired. So there was a walk and one left, and at the end of 7, it is Mets 2, Oakland 1. We pause now for station identification.
A new nurse brings efficiency and headaches to Dr. Jameson on the Brian Keith Show Friday night.
Curt Campaneris leads off in the 8th inning for the A's. Hits a ground ball deep and through for a base hit. Campaneris turns and holds. The tying run is on at first with nobody out. The A's batting in the 8th inning.
There's one of the advantages, Lindsay and Curt, of having speed and being able to bunt. You get that third baseman drawn in, and Garrett couldn't get to the ball.
So now Joe Rudy is at the plate. Double, grounded into a force play, and then sent Don Hahn to the wall for a spectacular circus catch in the 6th inning.
And McGraw and Parker in the Met bullpen. Rudy's good hitting behind the runner, Lindsay. He can go to right field.
Seaver with a toss over to first. Rudy is followed by Sal Bando in the batting order. Low. 1-0. Campaneris bluffed to start on the pitch. Rudy looking down to get his sign now from Irv Noren, the coach at third.
Garrett shallow at third and right on the line. A lot of room between Harrelson and Garrett. Now he's moving back.
Fastball in there for a called strike. It's 1-1. There you see Garrett's position, just about even with the bag there now. The Mets 2, Oakland 1. The A's are batting in the top of the 8th inning. Shea Stadium in New York. Go to first. Campaneris is back. Runner goes. Go to second, and he is safe. A stolen base. A stolen base for Campaneris.
Let's look at it again. Grody really coming out of there with a good throw to Felix Millan. A close call for Russ Getz, the second base umpire. From that angle, he appeared to be out. Let's look at another angle. Take a close look as Grody really got rid of the ball with a perfect throw. How do you tell with that cloud of dust? Here's another angle from center field. Harry Coyle's got a lot of angles in this shot. I believe as the tag was coming down, he did have that foot in on the bag.
That's the angle that really showed it, the center field angle.
The count is 2-1 to Rudy at the plate. There's nobody out. There's a base hit to right field, and coming around with the tying run is Campaneris. Rusty Staub can't throw. He underhands the ball into Millan. And so it's tied at 2-2.
Joe Rudy has swung the best bat in this series for the A's. When he hasn't had a hit, he's been ripping.
Watch Rusty again going after the hit. The ball scooted underneath the glove of John Milner at first base. I thought he had a shot at it. Now watch Rusty, unable to throw with that right shoulder injury.
So there's still nobody out. The score is tied 2-2, and Sal Bando's at the plate. Bunted foul to the first base side. As the A's are trying to move the go-ahead run into scoring position at second base. Bando looks down to see if it's still on. He's around. Bunts it strongly. Taken by Milner and played to Millan.
That might have been very close had John Milner whirled and tried to head off that lead runner to Buddy Harrelson. Here comes Yogi. Let's watch it again. Banda with a strike on him, squaring away, sacrificing in the direction of Milner. Remember, Milner cannot charge as hard as the third baseman as he had to hold Rudy on close. Proper place to play. Look at Rudy in your screen. Milner didn't even take a look. Apparently somebody yelled him off the play, or he made his own judgment.
Yogi Berra talking to Seaver and Grody. Got McGraw and Parker in the bullpen. Bud Harrelson has come there to the mound. The right hand is Parker, the left hand is McGraw. Seaver will stay on the ball game. And pitch to Reggie Jackson. Jackson has been up 3 times and struck out 3 times.
Interesting to see whether or not Yogi puts him on with first base open and Tennis, the right-hander, and try and take a chance for the double play. Many times you let an experienced pitcher like Seaver, who can nibble at the corners, let him do his own thing.
Center field. Don Hahn moves up. Next to catch, no advance, 2 away. Now Gene Tennis will be the batter. Struck out, walked, and doubled a drive and a run. The Mets have 2 runs on 7 hits. Oakland has 2 runs on 7 hits. Breaking pitch is in for a called strike. Rudy, the runner at second, with 2 away. Outside, 1-1.
I know what Rusty Staub's thinking right now in right field. Hit it the opposite way. My shoulder is so bad.
Curveball swung on and missed. It's 1-2. Seaver has struck out 11 and walked 1. Struck him out. Strikeout number 12 for Tom Seaver. As there is a run, there are 2 hits, no errors and 1 left in the middle of the 8th. 2-2 tie.
Now, program note from NBC. The career of Henry Aaron is the subject of a 1-hour NBC News special program, The Long Winter of Henry Aaron. Sunday at 10 Eastern Time, right here on NBC. I think it's going to be a very short winter. He's going to be so busy, traveling, making appearances, television commercials, and then spring training. But watch the Henry Aaron special Sunday at 10 o'clock right here on NBC.
And now the Mets come up in the bottom of the 8th inning, and Don Hahn will lead it off, facing Darrell Knowles. Pitch is low and away for a ball.
The NBC president, Julian Goodman, on the right in the front row, and Don Durgan with him.
Shortstop, Campaneris, the throw to first in time. Hahn has grounded out short to first.
And old shortstop Tony Kubek should appreciate the shortstop play we've seen in this series from Bud Harrelson and Bert Campaneris.
Certainly have. Campy played a fine shortstop last year. Now recall that 69 series when Buddy Harrelson caught everything in sight and more.
He did that as a switch hitter now. He turns around to bat right-handed against Knowles. He's gone 1 for 3 tonight.
What an improvement up the middle that was when they acquired Felix Millan from Atlanta, and of course when Harrelson got healthy later on in the season. I wonder if Tommy Seaver did not tell Buddy Harrelson to take his time, as Sadecki has just started throwing down in the bullpen for these Mets. Seaver may have gone back into Yogi saying he's tired. There's Sadecki.
Might very well have. 1 away. That's in for a call strike. 0-1. We're in a 2-2 tie in the bottom of the 8th inning. Shea Stadium in New York. A high pop to left down the line. Campaneris is out, and Rudy is coming strong, and Rudy makes the catch in fair territory.
Lindsay, Joe Rudy's now had 6 putouts tonight in left field.
Look at that last play again in that left field corner. Campaneris going hard all the way until he hears his left fielder, Rudy, wave him off. Now Joe comes in to make the catch. I believe we're going to have the pinch hitter, Linz.
Jim Beecham is being sent out to bat for Seaver. Jim Beecham, right-hand batter, being sent out to bat for Seaver.
Knowles gets him out. Hunter and Seaver, neither one will be able to win this game. But this was as advertised, these two going against each other tonight. Jim Hunter against Tom Seaver.
Seaver's gone 8 innings, given up 2 runs on 7 hits, struck out 12 and walked 1. You see Sadecki in the bullpen. And that's where our handheld cameraman is right now.
The man must have legs of steel.
He must have. Beecham in this series has gone 0 for 2. Hit .279 during the regular season. No homers, 14 runs batted in.
He and Mike Andrews have become the central figures.
Yes. Beecham first joined the Mets. I asked him about that pronunciation. B-E-A-U-C-H-A-M-P. He said, I'm a French Okie. He's from Oklahoma. There's a pitch low. 1-1 the count. One and two.
Was Jim Beecham with the ball back to Darrell Knowles in that second game with the bases loaded.
Outside high. It's 2-2 now to Beecham. 2 men out, nobody on. Salbando at third base, playing a deep third, guarding the line as precaution against the possible extra base hit. Way back at left, but Rudy's there, and he's waiting, and Joe Rudy makes the catch. The side is out, nothing across. And so at the end of 8, the score is tied. The Mets 2 and Oakland 2.
Well, autumn is certainly one of the nicest times of the year around Cooperstown, New York. It's a marvelous place to visit, and Cooperstown, New York is the home of baseball's Hall of Fame. And this year they have a new exhibit room devoted to baseball today. Plan to visit Cooperstown, New York and baseball's Hall of Fame. It's open every day except Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's. Preceding announcement made on behalf of Major League Baseball. Ray Sadecki's the new pitcher. The game is tied 2-2 going to the 9th inning. They joined us late in the first inning. Wayne Garrett led off against Jim Hunter with a home run. Then Meehan singled. He went to third on Rusty Stops, hit and run single. Meehan scored on a wild pitch. The Mets have been shut out since. The A's scrapped back after 1 out in the 6th off Tom Seaver. Bando doubled to deep center, and Gene Tennis doubled to left to drive him home. In the 8th, Campaneris led off with a single, stole second, his 3rd stolen base of the series, and then scored on Joe Rudy's single down the right field line.
Sadecki, one of the players out of the bullpen for this Mets team, who was not publicized very highly, but he helped out quite a bit in the bullpen this year. He's not overpowering, moves the ball around. Once in a while, he'll let loose with a fastball.
Sadecki pitched 1 2/3 scoreless innings in the Sunday game of this World Series. In the 1964 World Series with the St. Louis Cardinals, he had a World Series win. Vic Davalillo will lead it off now for the Oakland A's as they bat in the top of the ninth. Score tied 2-2.
Number 37.
Davalillo is 1 for 3. Struck out, had a base hit on a swinging roller, and grounded out. Bluff says, though, to bunt, takes the pitch low. It's 1-0.
Garrett playing way up at third base. Davalillo has speed, gets a good jump out of the box. He chops at the ball a lot, hits in that direction at times.
1-0 pitch. Off the glove of Millan and out into right field.
Millan was playing quite shallow for Davalillo in the event that he might lay a bunt down and try and beat it out, and the ball just got by him in a hurry.
That will bring up Burke now. Pat Burke.
7. He's got 7.
He's around, watches low and away. It's 1-0. An error charged against Millan on Davalillo's ball. That's bunted foul, back to first, out of play.
That surprised me. It was a tough chance. Hit very sharply.
It was. Took the official scorer some time to come up with that decision.
There are 3 scorers, and they probably conferred. That was hit like a rocket.
That's low. 2-1 now. The official scorers are Joe Heiling of the Houston Post, Dick O'Connor of the Palo Alto Times, and Edgar Munzel of the Chicago Sun-Times, who will be retiring after 45 years as a baseball writer at the finish of this World Series. Now, who's going to cover first? Nobody. And Burke is on. Davalillo moves to second.
And of all the players on the A squad to drag a perfect bunt, Pat Burke does it.
Look at it again. Milner charging, Garrett at the corners. Burke slaps it very hard. Now Sadecki gives up as the ball gets by Milner. He gave up. He should have been the man to get over there and try and make the play at first. So now Lewis will come into the ball game to pinch run for Burke. He can fly.
Alan Lewis is the runner. Alan Lewis running for Burke. That's he. Runners at first and second, nobody out.
And we will probably see Kubek up there to bunt too. Grody getting signal straight with Sadecki as pitcher as to where he should throw the ball, and out comes Yogi.
He's got his bullpen going again with McGraw up and throwing down there, and so is Harry Parker. Yogi Berra. Game number 4 of the World Series tomorrow night from right here at Shea Stadium as you watch the New York Mets bullpen. Game time the same tomorrow night.
Lindsay, we've had a new World Series record set tonight. Joe Rudy, with 7 putouts in left field, has broken a World Series record of 6, held by George Lewis, usual of the Yankees, McCormick of the Braves, Harvey Keene of the Giants, Tommy Tresh of the Yankees, and Tommy Davis of the Dodgers. 7 putouts for Joe Rudy in left field is a new World Series record for one game.
We're going to have Tug McGraw coming in here now. Tug's going to get the ride in the electric cart as he comes in relief of Ray Sadecki. There's a break in the action here at New York to score. The Mets 2 and Oakland 2. Tug McGraw in to do the pitching now for the New York Mets, doing a little groundskeeping first. Pitched in both the previous games of this World Series, a total of 8 innings. Charged with 4 runs on 6 hits, struck out 9 and walked 4. Tug McGraw, 1-1, lost none.
McGraw coming in a tough situation as he usually did, especially late in the season. A bunt situation with Kubek up at the plate, Manguel waiting on deck. He might pinch hit. So let's see if the Mets can execute in a bunt situation, one of the toughest plays in baseball. And so far, the series has not been a game where both teams have been fundamentally sound. There have been quite a few mistakes. Cleon's sick out in left field now as he comes over to left center field to talk with Don Hahn. In fact, it looks like Don Hahn's getting sick looking at Cleon Jones.
It's exactly what it looks like.
Is that an Irish chick they're playing?
I'm not sure.
How come our creepy camera hasn't gotten a replay on Cleon Jones throwing up in left field?
He may have it. You can't tell.
Manguel's come out on deck to pinch hit for Knowles.
It's Kubek at the plate. He's around. Munson fouls it off. It's strike one. Davalillo is at second, Lewis at first. Nobody out. Score tied 2-2. The Oakland A's batting in the top of the ninth inning.
McGraw, good fielder, Lindsay.
Yes. Low.
You might have seen how McGraw broke over to third base, the place that Kubek will probably try and bunt the ball. He's trying to protect that line so that Garrett can stay on third base and they can force that runner.
One pitch. Fouled off. 1-2. Runners at second and at first. A 1-2 delivery. He's around. Pitch is high, and it's 2-2. Kubek getting his information now to see if he's bunting all the way. Apparently was on that pitch. He's around. McGraw has it. There's the fourth. No other play. Might have had a play at first.
McGraw really came off that mound.
Let's look at it again, as I think Kubek maybe tried to force the ball by McGraw as he broke toward that third base foul line. Garrett, as you said, Lindsay, might have had a play, except he did not have good possession of the ball. The ball got stuck in his webbing. Let's watch Tug again. He really broke off the mound, but not a very good bunt. 2 strikes. He was just trying to hit the ball somewhere in fair territory.
So now there's one out. Runners first and second. Angel Manguel is coming up now to bat for Darrell Knowles. 0 for 2 in the series, 1 for 9 in the playoffs. During the season, hit .224, 3 homers, 13 runs batted in. Angel Manguel. Score tied 2-2. The A's batting in the top of the ninth inning. Lewis the runner at second now. Kubek's the runner at first. He really took a ripple, swinging strike.
Lewis at second base, a dangerous base-stealing threat. He's led several leagues in the minors, really keeping him close.
There he is. Foul it back. It's 2 strikes. With Knowles out of the ball game, Paul Lindblad is throwing in the bullpen for the Oakland A's.
Tug has gotten some pitches up. In fact, that last screwball that Manuel jumped on was almost in his eyes.
Runners at first and second, an 0-2 pitch. Steps off.
I would guess that Tug's got to be tired. It's like asking a starting pitcher after pitching a complete game to come back with a day and a half rest.
He's called out on strikes. Two away.
I'll tell you one thing, if he gets Campaneris out, he'll get a standing ovation when he goes into that Met dugout.
Camp.
Watch it again. Looked like a perfect pitch to Manuel. He had thrown him one screwball down just about in the outside corner. You can see the reaction of McGraw wanting the pitch and the reaction of Manuel in disgust.
Campaneris coming up. He's had 2 hits. Yogi Berra. And Dick Williams. Ground ball, foul. Off the line at third, glove by Garrett. Strike 1.
McGraw in game 2, who caromed the ball off Campaneris' helmet. 2 strikes on him.
A little low. It's 1-1. Strike, 1-2. This is Yogi Berra. Inside, it's 2-2. That's Rube Walker, the pitching coach, moving over with Yogi. McGraw stepped off. He wants the signs again from Brody. Campaneris steps out at the plate. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 men out, score tied, 2-2. 2-2 delivery. Inside. It'll be an automatic start for the runners now. Lewis at second, Kubek at first.
McGraw thought he had that one.
The runners will be moving on the pitch. In the air to center. Don Hahn is there. Listen to the ovation now for Tug McGraw. No run. A hit, an error, and 2 men left. And in the middle of the 9th inning, the score is tied. Oakland 2 and the Mets 2.
Pitcher Tom Seaver is wearing a travel knit suit from the men's store at Sears. All our travel knit suits are on sale now. The selection is terrific. So is the choice of styles, and so is the sale price. Regularly $85, now just $64.97. Save $20 at the special sale price, $64.97. Only in the men's store at Sears.
Now program note, Sanford and Son each decide to check out the same neighborhood bar. And what they find there starts father worrying about son and son about father. Sanford and Son, Friday at 8 o'clock, 7 Central Time, right here on NBC. Angel Manuel has gone to center field, and Vic Davalillo has moved into first base from center field. So Davalillo's at first, Manuel in center, and Paul Lindblad is the new pitcher. Now the Mets coming up with a chance to win it, tied 2-2, last of the ninth inning, and they have the top of the order up.
Wayne Garrett, who led off the ball game with a home run, will lead it off. Lindblad, 1-5 during the regular season, had 2 saves, pitched to 3 batters Sunday. 2 got out on errors by Andrews, and 1 was retired. In the air to left, and that's Campaneris out in short left to make the catch. We pause briefly for station identification. This is the NBC Television Network. At Shea Stadium in New York, this is Lindsay Nelson with Curt Gowdy and Tony Kubek. As the New York Mets come up with 1 man out, nobody on, it's Felix Millan at the plate. He's 2 for 4 tonight. That's a strike. Errol Knowles pitched 2 innings, allowed no runs, no hits, struck out none, walked 1. Fastball outside. That's fouled off. And fouled off Gene Tennis, the catcher.
They've only got 1 catcher listed on their regular roster, and that is Fossey. And of course, he's out of the ball game. Tennis getting hit by that foul tip. Could be serious. I don't know to whom they would go should he not stay in the ball game. He has, Dick Williams, only 1 man left, and that is Billy Conigliaro on the bench. Mike Andrews is eligible. The commissioner made him eligible today. But he was not here before the start of the game. He's hurting. Let's look at it again. A ball that's sunk. Millan topping it. Hitting the dirt, bouncing up, getting underneath that protective cup that these catchers wear. He's really had the wind knocked out of him. Joe Romo out, the trainer, along with Dick Williams, administering the tennis. Don't know where they'd go if he had to leave the game.
Well, apparently he's going to be all right. Felix Millan has a count of 1 ball, 2 strikes. There is 1 man out, nobody on base. Millan is followed by Rusty Staub in the batting order. Our statistician here this evening, Alan Roth. Production stage manager, Jim O'Gorman. Ground ball is short. Campaneris gets the hop, guns it, 2 away. And now Rusty Staub. Staub is 1 for 4. Had a base hit on a hit-and-run play in the first inning.
And Joe Rudy continues to crowd that left field line against him. Twice Staub tonight has flied to left, and he singled to left.
You're going to look there at the outfield alignment.
Quite a gap in left center.
Surprised Manuel, the way he's been hitting the left, is playing in right center field.
Foul it back, it's strike 1.
Tennis taking a beating as so many catchers do. A little foul tip off the top of his protective mask that time.
2 men out, nobody on. Bottom of the 9th. High and tight. Ollie Fingers is throwing in the bullpen now for the Oakland A's. Fingers is up and throwing.
He and McGraw may not be able to shave when this series is over.
Here's the 1-1. It's high, 2-1. McGraw said before the ball game that he thought he would be able to throw tonight if he had to, but he hoped he didn't. Didn't turn out that way. Two-one pitch. 3-1.
Lindsay will never see a bigger gap in the outfield than between the left fielder Rudy and the center fielder Manuel. Anything over the head of the shortstop could roll to the fence.
Roll forever.
If ever Staub wanted to pull a pitch, it's this one right here, 3-1.
That's a called strike. It's full at 3-2. Payoff pitch. Popped it up to the right side. Tennis is coming to the dugout. Listens how to play. Back into the crowd.
Dick Williams, as we mentioned, with just Canigliaro on the bench. Yogi's still with a bench full of players. Theodore, Dyer, Martinez, Mays, Cranepool, Boswell. There's Williams.
Count stays full to Rusty Staub, 3-2. 2 men out, nobody on. Score tied 2-2 in the bottom of the ninth. Shea Stadium in New York. Out left center field. Left center field. All the way. It's a ground rules double. A ground rules double as it hopped over the wall.
And that might have been a break for the A's. I think Rusty might have gotten a triple out of it, and that would have put a lot of pressure on Lindblad and those infielders. I got to believe that Manuel was playing out of position. He had not been playing stop that way. He had been hitting him to left field most of the day.
Leon Jones will be the batter. He's gone 0 for 4 tonight. Struck out, grounded out, grounded out, grounded out. Possible winning run is at second base. They're going to put him on and pitch to the left-hand batter, Milner. An intentional walk, and they'll pitch to the left-hand batter, John Milner, because this run would not mean a thing. It's the run at second base they're concerned with. The Mets have 2 runs, 8 hits. The A's have 2 runs, 8 hits. Each team has been charged with an error. Rube Walker and Yogi Berra. Dick Williams.
Now in right field, there's McGraw on the bench. In right center field, Jackson and Manuel having a conference. Reggie may be telling Manuel how to play. Milner. The team captain Bando has gone to the mound.
Dick Williams is coming out for a word with umpire Jerry Neudecker, the umpire behind the plate. Williams and Neudecker.
Don't know what that conversation's about, but we understand that Willie Mays has just come into the dugout.
Well, it's a rather animated conversation, no matter what the subject. There's Willie Mays, just behind Ken Boswell there. Two men out. Score tied 2-2 in the bottom of the ninth. Fouled it off. It's strike 1 to Milner. That's a called strike 2. Lindblad brought it in tight. That's Willie Mays. Oh and 2, the count to Milner. Right field, Reggie Jackson goes back and makes the catch, and this game will go into extra innings. There was a hit, there was a walk, and 2 left, and at the end of 9, the score is tied. Oakland 2 and the New York Mets 2. Well, we have a real barn burner going here at Shea Stadium tonight. Third game of the World Series. The mayor of the city of New York, John B. Lindsay, is on hand for it. We're going to the 10th inning. Score tied 2-2, and once again, here's Curt Gowdy.
Shep Phenia, the National League president, Mr. and Mrs. Bowie Kuhn. Stand by, Johnny Carson. This is the first time there have been 2 extra inning games in the same series since 1958, when the Braves and Yankees played 10-inning games in the 1st and 6th, and it's the first time there have been successive extra inning games since 1933, when the Yankees beat Washington in the 4th and 5th games in 11 innings and 10 innings to win the series. And in the 10th inning, Joe Rudy, Sal Bando, Reggie Jackson, the big guns for the Oakland A's, facing Tug McGraw. McGraw faced 3 men, got him out in the 9th. Rudy sends a ground foul for strike 1. Rudy is doubled, hit into a force out, flied out to deep center field with a sensational grab out there by Don Hahn against the wall. Then he singled to right to knock in a run. The line score is even up. 2 runs, 8 hits, 1 error for each team. They're deep and straight away for Rudy. A ball, 1-1. The defensive setup. Draw a string right over the mound through second base out to Don Hahn in center field. 1-1 pitch. Ball 2, strike 1.
He's been up, Curt. He's got to be a tired young man. He's had that screwball up, fastball up.
2 innings on Saturday, 6 innings on Sunday. Back again for game 3. High again, as Tony pointed out. 3-1. Third base coach Irv Noren sending up hit or take. McGraw's 3-1 pitch to Joe Rudy. Rudy drives it into deep left. There's Cleon Jones to grab it for the out. 1 down. Milner's line drive nearly was over the head of Jackson to win the game. To end the 9th. Now Rudy lines out to start the 10th. Bando has struck out, flied out, double to center, sacrifice. He scored 1 of the 2 runs. He's batting in the number 3 spot. We're tied 2-2 in the 10th inning. Curved him for a strike. A left-handed batter, Reggie Jackson, on deck. He hits it down the left field line. That one is fair. Played beautifully by Jones. Here's the throw, and he's safe. The ball was dropped. They had him out, and the ball was knocked loose. He's safe at second.
Look at it again and watch Cleon Jones play the wall. Perfect throw. Cleon has to go into a dive. Bando hesitated around first base and stumbled, and he had the ball in front of him, but Bando kicked the ball out. Let's watch it again. Bando stumbled just before we came upon this sequence. The glove is down, and Mian may be seriously hurt as he really got creamed by Bando as he dove trying to make the tag. Here it is again. Jones from another angle. With a throw, Mian going out to meet the ball. Here he comes. He had made the tag. You can see the out call by second base umpire Russ Getz. But the ball was kicked away by Bando.
Leon appears to be all right. That one did not miss much by being a home run.
Al Mion, can you believe this? 9 errors throughout a regular season. This is his 3rd error, and we're in the 3rd game of the World Series. One of his errors on Saturday afternoon allowed Matlack to go down with 2 unearned runs in a 2-1 ball game. And now his error here has put the go-ahead run in a 2-2 ball game on at second base with Reggie Jackson. Always dangerous, but as we said, not effective tonight. Due up.
Jim, Mion's really had to take a couple of tough errors tonight. I can't think of a tougher one than he just took right then. He fearlessly dived right into the oncoming spikes of Sal Bando, who's a 200-pounder, and put that glove over there at second base. I think he was surprised that Bando was coming, and then he just had to turn around. He sort of dived right down in there, and it was a fantastic collision. Mion is dirty from head to toe, and lucky, I think, to really be alive.
Here is Reggie Jackson. Struck out 3 times against Tom Seaver before flying to short center field with a man in scoring position in the 8th inning. Jackson, the left-hander, had 4 hits Sunday. Ground high hopper to Mion, who takes it on the second hop, throws on to first base. As over to third base goes Bando. Jackson retired again, swinging on the first pitch as he did in the 8th inning when he flied to short center. And that'll bring it up to Dean Tennis, who was 1 for 3 plus a walk. His double drove in Bando in the 6th inning. And Tennis in the top half of this inning, I should say in the lower half of the 9th inning, really was hit on a swinging foul and went to the dirt, and there's some question whether or not he would return.
Yogi's going to let McGraw make a decision here, probably whether to pitch to Tennis, a right-hand batter, or Davalillo, a left-hander.
Well, the decisions are made, Monte, because Barra's coming back. Brody starts back and now returns to McGraw as Harrelson goes out to shortstop. We've got 2 out in the Oakland 10th. And it's 2-2. I tell you what, I guess a lot of people have to go to work tomorrow. We've got a lot of people have left Shea Stadium. It was jam-packed, and most of the upper deck, at least down the right field line, has cleared out in a 2-2 ball game in the 10th. McGraw apparently is going to pitch to Gene Tennis with a go-ahead run at third base. Up high, ball 1. Now, naturally, Mion keeps cutting over behind the pitcher, Doug McGraw, on the return throw by Grody in case he gets by him to cut off Bando trying to come in from third base. McGraw ready again and throws down low. Held on to by Grody. Could be that they're going to pitch Tennis very carefully, and if they must put him on, they will. Now they're going to after 2-0. Here's 3-0 as they will walk him intensely. Trying to get Tennis to go for a bad pitch when he would not, and the count went to 2-0. They simply decided, let's put him on. Bando's over at third base. And that'll bring up Davalillo, who is 1 for 4, and he reached on an error. Reggie Jackson, who went 0 for 5 tonight, did in a sense do one good thing. His ground ball to the right side enabled Bando to go from second to third. And we all remember what happened back in the first inning with a man at third base, Leon. He was wild pitched home. That was the second of the 2 New York runs. The other was a leadoff home run by Wayne Garrett in the first inning. The A's have done their scoring lately in the 6th and in the 8th. Here is Davalillo, a little left-hander who takes that step, who bails out as Monte described, who runs up the line as he swings. First pitch, strike on the outside corner. Davalillo back in the 9th inning lined a shot on 1 hop off Mion's glove, and it went out into right field, and they gave Mion his 2nd error of the series on that play. And now in the very next inning, and Bando barrels into him, Mion draws his 3rd. He's already pitching from the stretch, throws the screwball, drive high, right field, Staub comes in. This should be it. McGraw's heading for the dugout. Staub grabs it, 1 hand. No run, 1 hit, 1 error, and 2 men left. We go to the last of the 10th, and we're all caught up in game number 3. It's 2-2. And Jerry Grody, 0 for 4 tonight. Stepped in, right-handed, hitting catcher, fine defensive player, against Paul Lindblad, who is the third Oakland pitcher tonight, coming on in the ninth inning, getting a little trouble after 2 are out, but getting out of it as Milner sent a sinking line drive. There's a ground ball towards second. Kubek up with it, sidearms it over to first, and there's 1 out in the New York 10th. Brody hitting the first pitch from Paul Lindblad. Don Hahn, 1 for 4 tonight, has hit the ball twice very hard his first 2 times up. He lined to Rudy and left in the first and then followed with a double in the fourth. Inside the bag at third base. Since then, he's been retired on an easy fly ball to left and a ground to the Campaneris at shortstop. Campy has shown us tonight that he, like Harrelson, fine fielding shortstop. 2 of the premier fielding shortstops in baseball playing in the World Series of 73. Lindblad, the left-hander, throws the fastball. It misses. It's ball 1. Well, the team that wins this one will have the obvious edge. Tomorrow night, John Matlack for New York and Holtzman for the Oakland A's. Rematch of the opening day assignment. Ground ball, right side. Kubek there has another shot and throws on to Davalillo, the first baseman. And that's 2 down. Both on easy ground balls. Kubek at second base. And that'll bring up Harrelson, who was 3 for 8, getting 3 base hits on Sunday, and he is 1 for 4 tonight. A single in the 6th inning that almost took Catfish Hunter's head off. And glove off. Right back to the box. Oakland 2, New York 2. Last of the 10th, Game 3 of the World Series. McGraw in a jacket walks out on deck. Nobody throwing in either bullpen. Lindblad is ready and throws. Strike on the outside corner. Harrelson bunted through the ball, and this is the first time we've seen Bud tonight batting from the right side. Going against the left-hander. Check that. This is the second time. Knowles also had him swing around to the right side of the plate. One of the switch hitters in the ball game. Kubek, who's retired 2 men here in the 10th, is another one. 1 ball, 1 strike to Harrelson. Crowd gets very quiet now with 2 out in the last of the 10th. That pitch is down low. It's 2-1. Eddie Yost, the coach over third base, claps it up for Bud Harrelson. Harrelson, a better hitter for average from the right side, where he is now. Grounds this one past Yost, the coach at third. Foul, and it's 2-2. Well, Tennis started at first base, then Burke. Now Davalillo is there. Green started at second base. Kubek is there now. Davalillo started in center. Manguel is there now. Fossey was the catcher. He's out of the game. Tennis is there. As Dick Williams continues to maneuver with not much room left to maneuver more. 2-2 the count. 2-2 the score. 2 out in the 10th. Lindblad back and throws outside. 3-2. Well, you wonder if Harrelson gets on just what kinds of moves, if any, Yogi Berra will make. Will he go to Willie Mays, the right-hander, and take McGraw out? Foul tip. Fingers is not throwing in the bullpen for the Oakland A's. The ball game now almost 3 hours old here at Shea Stadium in New York. Very little scoring, and did we see some kind of performance from Tom Seaver tonight, who left after 8 innings, striking out 12 men, giving up 7 hits. Ground ball, right side, base hit. Winning run potentially on at first base, and here comes Willie Mays. Willie Mays, 42 years old, started as a rookie in 1951, and with the New York Giants went all the way to the World Series, closing out his career here in 1973. 22 years later, and he's gone all the way to the World Series with another New York National League team, the Mets. He had a run-scoring RBI in the first game, and another one in game number 2. Number 24 flashes up on the scoreboard. 2-2, 2 out in the 10th. They're looking for some of that Mays magic. Right-handed batter, against the left-hander Paul Lindblad, and nobody busy at all in the A's bullpen. Lindblad throws to Mays, ground ball in the hole. Campanells goes to second base. He's out at second base on the first play. First play, Harrelson out at second base. Mays, first ball swinging. Campanells went into the hole to his right, turned and fired to the second baseman Kubek, and in a close play, he's gunned down. No runs, one hit. No errors and one left. At the end of 10, it's still New York 2, Oakland 2. They're back at Shea Stadium in New York, and now we're going to the 11th inning. Yet another pitcher, Harry Parker. Seaver started. Kubek came on and pitched to a couple of batters in the 9th inning before Chuck McGraw came on, and he was batted for by Willie Mays. And now Parker, a right-hander who has been in one game, pitched an inning, gave up one hit and no runs, is on for his second World Series appearance. Let's pause as he warms up 30 seconds for station identification. And Terry Parker, and here's Monty Moore.
Harry Parker won 8 games and lost 4 for the Mets this year with an ERA of 3.34. Paul Lindblad, left-hand batter, ready. Here's a pitch to him, and it's outside, ball 1. Lindblad is one of the best all-around athletes on the Oakland A's staff. He's an outstanding diver. He was a former national javelin throwing champion. Good hitter among the pitchers. Pitches low for ball 2. It's 2 balls and no strikes. Dick Williams going with Paul Lindblad as the leadoff batter here in the 11th inning. Ted Kubiak and Angel Mangual will follow. 2-0 pitch. Strike call. Lindsay taking all the way. Oakland has only one man left on the bench, Billy Canigliaro. He was swinging the bat for a while, but Dick Williams elected to go with Lindblad. And the pitch just swung on and missed. Strike 2. It's 2 balls, 2 strikes. So this is the 4th Met pitcher of the ball game. Seaver started, Sadecki, McGraw worked. The pitch to Lindblad, fouled out of play down the left field line. It's still 2-2. Well, they've said the Mets haven't done it easy all year, and the A's have sort of had a saying on their ball club all year long. They don't win them easy, and they don't lose them easy. And tonight's another example. 2-2 pitch. Line drive to the shortstop. Harrelson's got it. Paul Lindblad hits the ball pretty well. A little sinking liner off to the right of Harrelson, and he came up with the ball. One down here is Ted Kubiak, a switch hitter. Dick Williams has used 4 pinch hitters in the game. Here's the pitch to Kubiak, and it's inside for ball 1. Pat Burke, Jesus Salou, Darren Johnson, and Angel Mangual have all come up as pinch hitters. Yogi Berra has used 2, Bishop and Mays. There's ball 2 to Kubiak. 2 balls and no strikes. Both the Mets and the A's had runners in scoring position in the 9th inning and couldn't get them across, and both teams had a man on in the 10th inning. Oakland had 2 on. Pitch is high, ball 3 to Kubiak. Harry Parker's been up in that bullpen quite a few times tonight. Coming into a game like this, he's got to be a little bit nervous. 3-0 pitch. Ball 4, Kubiak is on. That's only the 3rd Oakland A's player to receive a free ticket to first tonight. McGraw walked 1. That was intentional. Seaver walked 1. And now here's Angel Mangual, the Oakland center fielder who came on to pinch hit for Darrell Knowles in the 9th inning and took a call, 3rd strike. Bert Campaneris is on deck. Mets are about halfway looking for a bunt. Garrett's playing very shallow at 3rd. Here's a pitch. Curve. Strike. Ball. Mangual fell off that plate. Ball turned a corner and went right down through the strike zone. It's no balls, 1 strike. Mangual is liable to hit the ball anywhere. The Mets claim to hit it to right center. He has good power. He hasn't played much for Oakland this year. He ended up being the number 3 center fielder. Here's a pitch to him. Curve. Strike 2 called, and Manuel has not swung the bat in the last 3 pitches thrown to him for the called 3rd strike in the 9th inning. And now the first 2 thrown by Parker here are curveballs, and he's looked at both of them. Milner holding against Kubek. Parker throws. Fastball just missing. And it didn't miss by much. I would look for him to go back to the breaking ball here. He must have realized that Manuel didn't like it too much. He threw him 2 good ones, and Angel took both of them. Big hole between the third baseman and shortstop on the left side of the infield. Parker set, checks the runner, throws to the plate. It's in the dirt. Nice block by Gowdy. Boy, what a fine job this guy does behind the plate. One of the great pleasures of working a World Series is being able to see the players from the other league that you only hear about during the season. Parker 2-2. Delivers. Fastball, swing and a miss. 3rd strike. The catcher drops the ball. Manuel goes to first, and Kubek goes to second. Parker struck out Manuel, and Gowdy, whom we'd just been talking about his defense, didn't handle the 3rd strike. He tried to catch the ball one-handed, and now they are saying that it was a foul. Oh, he's out. He couldn't run to first base. Manuel took off to first. With a runner on at first, he couldn't run. But Kubek is able to advance to second base. So now Campaneris bats with a runner at second base. Campy came up in the 9th inning with 2 men on. And McGraw got him on a through ball to pop up to center field. Buzz Capra starts throwing in the Met bullpen. 2 down. Kubek off second. The pitch to Campaneris to the curve outside, ball 1. That is 14 Oakland A's batters to strike out in this ball game. Seaver got 12 of them. Campaneris ready for the 1-0 pitch. Strike, whistling right through there. 1-1. Ted Kubek away from second and 2 down. Parker throws. Curveball swung on and missed, strike 2. Boy, I'll tell you, the suspense in this ball game has been there. For a 2-2 game, there have been a lot of runners in scoring position. Parker's ahead of Campaneris at a ball and 2 strikes. Here comes the pitch. Curveball, foul off the right field line. Stone, a left-hander, has joined the right-hander out of the bullpen, Buzz Capra. The game is on the field right now where Harry Parker's got it all to himself. 1 ball, 2 strikes on Bert Campaneris with Ted Kubek a base hit away from coming in with a tie-breaking run. Crowd buzzing. They've been out on the edges of their seats for about 2 hours here. The pitch inside to Campaneris. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Now Parker ready again. Here's a pitch. Line drive, left center field, base hit. Ted Kubek rounding third. He's coming home. Here comes the throw, and Campaneris goes all the way to second, and they cut it off and throw it to second to get him, but the run does score. Garrett cut the ball off at the pitcher's mound and threw to second to get Campaneris, but his base hit did score Ted Kubek before they got him. So Oakland has broken the tie. It's the A's 3 and the Mets 2.
Well, I don't think we have to spell it out for the Monte in the last of the 11th inning. Paul Lindblad gets the job done against 3 of the toughest hitters in the New York Mets lineup. It is the Oakland A's who will take a 2-games-to-1 lead. But then, who knows? 11th inning, here's Monte.
Wayne Garrett, the leadoff man, against Paul Lindblad, a check swing liner right through the box into center field, a base hit. Wayne Garrett keeps the Mets alive. He tried to stop his swing on a breaking ball up high and lined it right over the pitcher's head into center field. So the Mets have the tying run on, and here's Felix Millan, who really can handle that bat. So Wayne Garrett, who has been tough on Oakland the entire series, has opened up a door in inning number 11. And Raleigh Fingers are going to be called in out of the Oakland bullpen possibly here. He's throwing hard, and Dick Williams is going to the mound to talk to Paul Lindblad.
All right, Wally, I'm sorry, Marty. While he's out there talking, we'll remind you again that we are now in the 11th inning of a ball game that's about 3 hours and 10 minutes old. And a ball game that started out with an absolutely capacity house. And that means many more than 50,000 here at Shea Stadium in New York. But it is late, New York time, about 14 minutes before midnight. And many people have left Shea Stadium heading for home, choosing to listen on the radio or take the chances that it'll be on television still when they get home. Raleigh Fingers being called in the 11th inning after the Oakland A's came on to tie it up. In the 8th inning, they went until the 11th inning when the Oakland A's went ahead by the score of 3-1 on the run-scoring single by Bert Campaneris. His third hit of the night. Campaneris has been something else. As a matter of fact, his second hit of the night. After that, he stole second and came home with a tying run on Rudy's base hit in the 8th inning. Now in the 11th inning, he started everything by driving in the go-ahead run, Ted Kubek. But now in the last of the 11th inning, Garrett, as described by Monte, just simply tried to check a swing against a breaking pitch that was well out of the strike zone. He didn't go all the way around, but he checked it and lined it right over the head of Paul Lindblad and into center field. Now, beyond, you know, as we said, seldom strikeouts. He is a good man that may be up there to bunt, may be up there on the hit and run. But I would imagine at home, Monte Moore, even in the World Series, when you are the home team, you want to make sure you tie it up before you try to win it. And so the odds are that Millan is up there to do one thing, and that is to bunt. Raleigh Fingers, like Doug McGraw, has seen more than his share of duty here in the World Series. Fingers, well, this is the third game, and it's the third game for Raleigh. As you know, Matt Black, or rather McGraw, had pitched 8 innings in 2 games and came on and pitched tonight. He has won 1 and lost none. Fingers is 0-1 in 2 games and pitched 6 innings. And Fingers, who's very effective and has been, Monte, has not been effective that much here in the World Series. In 6 innings, he is ballooned to a 6 earned run average. Raleigh Fingers is a very strong right-hander, and my last recollection of Raleigh, before the errors by Mike Andrews, was at second base, when he threw a very good pitch to Willie Mays, only to have him grounded on one hop, bounced it over his head into center field for a run-tying RBI single, and Raleigh simply threw his glove up in the air. He's got a chance to redeem himself now. The A's are out in front 3-2, but the tying run is on at first base with none out. Fingers is ready, Millan is ready, and Monte is ready.
All right. Felix Millan, tough little right-handed batter. Fingers pitched 3 1/3 innings the first time out, 2 2/3 the next, and here he goes to work. Garrett off first base. Davalillo holding against him and ready to go into the plate. Here's a pitch. Millan squares around, bumps it hard to the first base side. Davalillo's got it, tags out Millan, and now the Mets have the tying runner in scoring position with 1 out. And they have Rusty Staub and Cleon Jones, 2 of their big hitters, to try to knock in that go-ahead run. Millan, a good bunt, moves Garrett in. And here comes Wes Stock out to talk to Raleigh Fingers now. Rusty Staub's had 2 hits in this game. One a bouncer through the left side of the infield, the other a double to left center field that took 1 hop and bounced over the fence for a ground rule double. So the Mets are hit away from tying the ball game. A pass ball by usually very reliable Jerry Grody allowed Ted Kubek to get into scoring position in the top of the 11th inning after Mangual struck out. And then Campaneris knocked him in. Now the Mets get a break on a check swing single, and the Sacrifices moved their man up, and here's Rusty Staub. Fingers comes to the plate. Hard stuff in there. Called strike. A's outfielders poised and ready to throw if they got that ball. Rudy in left, Mangual in center, Jackson in right. They all have strong arms. Here's the pitch to stop. Popped up. Center field. Angel Mangual is back under the ball. He makes the catch, and there are 2 down. Now, Cleon Jones comes up. Jones, the hottest hitter for the Mets during their stretch to the pennant in the National League, has in this ball game gone 0 for 4 with a walk. And the big hitters in this game, Jackson and Jones, have been stopped completely tonight, Jim.
Well, there's signs everywhere, Monte, that say you gotta believe. But obviously hundreds and thousands of Met fans do not believe. The tying run is down there at second base, and Cleon Jones, we've described as quite a hitter. Although he's hitless tonight, but he came in as the top man in base hits in the World Series with 5. All he has to do is get 1, and we got a 3-3 ball game. But some of the you gotta believers don't believe and are heading for the exit.
Wayne Garrett off second. Raleigh fingers set. Here's the pitch. Fastball outside. It's 1-0. The A's play Jones straight away. Reggie Jackson doing some knee bends out in right field. Dick Davalillo very close to the first base foul line, and he is the A's first baseman. He's the only man really overshifted for Jones. Fingers pitch. Strike on the outside corner. A hard sinking fastball. Fingers has one of the biggest breaking sliders of all pitchers in baseball. But he came out of that bullpen and has thrown nothing but smoke so far. Garrett leads away. Fingers steals a glance at him. Comes to the plate. Just missed outside. 2 balls and a strike. Cleon Jones, one of the Mets, who was on the 1969 World Championship team for New York. He cocks to that. Fingers ready. Here's the pitch. Fastball swung on late and fouled up into the crowd right over the top of the Met dugout. So Fingers now goes to a 2-ball, 2-strike count. Oakland leading 3-2. Last half of inning number 11, Game 3 of the World Series. The game started a long time ago by 2 great right-handers, Catfish Hunter and Tom Seaver. They're both gone and no longer a part of it. Fingers set. Around comes the arm. Here's the pitch. Bouncing ball to shortstop. Campaneris has got it. He throws to first. The A's win game number 3 on a sensational relief job by Raleigh Fingers. The final score of the ball game as Oakland takes a 2-1 edge in the game, 3-2.